Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm, and you are watching first part of What If Naruto Was Trained by Infinite Dragon Goddess. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And for more exclusive and spicy content, follow me on Patreon. Link is in the description below. And now, wasting no more time, let's start the story.
The woman asked in a hollow voice, "What have I done?" She has occasionally used the same words since that day, wearing a tight black leather jacket, matching leather pants, black leather gloves, and black high-heel boots. The woman, who appears to be in her mid-20s, has black hair that reaches her thighs, blank onyx eyes, and a height of approximately 6 feet 5 inches. Earth, or what's left of it now covered in ruins, can be described as a desolate, empty wasteland. All I wanted to do was get back to Dimensional Gap and claim what is rightfully mine from that fool, but my course of action led the world to chaos and its untimely destruction. I am the infinite dragon god, freaking. For heaven's sake. Why didn't I act like one? Because I was determined to exact revenge on the Great Red for stealing my silence. I went down the path of childishness. The woman began to sob as she recalled that day, when she lost everything she had ever cared about. I'm too gullible to believe they'll follow my instructions, but it turns out they had a secret agenda, betrayed me, and used my power for their own ends. If only, sobbed she, inhaled, I could fight back against them and take several people with me so we can counter their plans. If only I took my position as their fucking leader seriously. However, I've been too ignorant about their hidden agenda and allowed those morons stole my power to create another ME to fight for their cause. She began thinking back to the day when Hero Faction, a sub-faction of Chaos Brigade, used Samael to extract her power. If only I had taken action to stop them back then and had not been so foolish as to believe that eradicating them now would not be amusing. I wouldn't have to worry about losing my Issei Tusan and Rias Ka-chan and my sister's sob, the woman said, curling into a fetal position as more tears streamed from her eyes. Asia, Irina, Zenovia, Kaneko, Roswise Ne-san, Akeno Ba-san, Gasper Ni-chan, Kiba Ni-san, Azazel Gigi. She sobs as she recalls her family members being killed one by one on that day. The black-haired young woman used the phrase, that day, to refer to the apocalyptic event known as the Apocalypse, which occurred when the Chaos Brigade, a supernatural terrorist organization, declared war on the alliances and began attacking both heaven and hell. Chaos Brigade had numerous advantages throughout the war because they possessed a number of Longinus sacred gears, and the evil dragons, who were fearless, were tearing through the battlefield, killing numerous alliance leaders, and destroying a number of alliance posts, forcing the alliances to make a mass withdrawal. Even the combined strength of Michael, Azazel, and the four Satans is insufficient to stop them, and to make matters worse, Euclid Lucifuge, Graphia Lucifuge's younger brother, was able to recreate both boosted gear and divine dividing and use them to their fullest potential with a special upgrade, Red, constant juggernaut drive without the need to consume its user's life force. Many of the Alliance's soldiers fought valiantly against all odds during the siege, but their bravery was insufficient to stop them. The battle continued for the remainder of the day, resulting in significant casualties on both sides and the angels' exodus from heaven because they had fewer personnel and their reinforcement had been cut off, forcing them to flee to the underworld. The next phase of the war was the bloodiest of all. The Chaos Brigade unleashed the so-called apocalyptic beast, Trihexa, into the human realm, and it began destroying everything in its path, including human settlements spread throughout the world. Many nations fought back with guns, tanks, airplanes, jets, and other modern weapons, but to no avail. The beast was unaffected by their efforts, and several superpowers, including America, France, Russia, England, and Germany, fired all of their nuclear weapons at it in a desperate attempt to fend it off, but the alliances swiftly helped humanity by halting the beast while the Chaos Brigade came out and began killing opposing forces. When all hope seemed lost, a miracle occurred when Great Red, the enormous red dragon god emperor, appeared to aid humanity and the alliances. It was a mess, with the dead bodies of both supernatural and human beings sprawled lifelessly throughout the world, while those who were still fighting watched in horror as the beast never seemed tired from destroying everything and kept growing from the wounds they inflicted. The battle between Great Red and Trihexa came to a standstill. However, as the two entities engaged in combat, the shockwave of the attack acted like a tsunami at a speed of Mach 10 with a range of 50 miles or more, decimating humans and supernatural beings caught in the blast at the same time. Each blast destroyed Earth's magic ley lines, preventing the mages from using magic and calling forth their familiar to fight. Using this opportunity, the alliances and surviving human forces eliminated the magician faction of Chaos Brigade with extreme prejudice. The final member of the magician faction fell with a thud and a hole in the middle of their eyes, and the sound of machine guns, light spears, and cries of pain reverberated throughout the skies as flesh and bones collided with a shower of hot lead, tearing their bodies apart like a hot knife through butter. While that was going on, the infinite dragon god went suicidal move even though she knows she had been weakened by killing every member of Chaos Brigade's sub-faction known as Hero Faction. Officially, it consists many of heroes descendant from different mythology, but according to the dragon god personally, it consists of many stuck-up jerks, assholes, and skanks of a hero's descendant who hell-bent on destroying the world where they live in. And the dragon god have a bone to pick with them. The battle was short but extremely destructive. As the dragon god unleashed her wrath upon them, she unleashed her power without worry the need to control her power, as her uncontrolled power output enough to reduce everything to ashes. Many of the so-called hero, one by one, die in her hands. It was a slaughter. None were spared from the dragon god wrath. Even though she was stabbed, bombed, shot, and slashed multiple times, it didn't waver her resolve to eliminate this faction, as they were her greatest mistake in her life, and she won't stop until she every last one of them dead. At the end, the dragon god pass out from the wounds inflicted upon her, especially the wound from that Longinus spear. On the opposite side of the battlefield, two young men dressed in red and white draconic armor triumphantly faced off against the deceased leader of the Chaos Brigade in the old Mao faction, Rizavam Levon Lucifer, and their head researcher, Euclid Lucifuge, who were both wearing imitations of divine dividing and boosted gear, respectively. After retrieving the remaining pieces of Sephiroth Grawl and combining them with other pieces, the fighters flew together to fight the apocalyptic beast. Over the course of the following 2 days, the battle continued to cause more casualties, and by this time, 98% of the world's population, including humans, animals, and supernatural beings, had been wiped out, and Earth's life force had already died. The two young men, Great Red, and the leaders of each allied faction had sacrificed themselves in order to slay the beast, and in one incredible feat, the beast was slain using the combined power of Great Red, Sephiroth Grawl, and the life forces of the remaining allied forces. The conflict has ended at a price no one can ever fathom. Now lying on the ground, the raven-haired beauty gazes into the brownish sky with blank eyes. That was 1,000 years ago. I can live in peace and quiet for over 4-5 billion years, but now that I've met my family, I can't even spend more than an hour in silence, Ophis remarked. My heart now craved for love, compassion, and kindness like the one you showed me long ago, said Ophis. Then she took 2 pictures out of her pocket before they returned home from the hot spring. Issei took the first photo, which showed all of the orc members with Rias hugging Ophis, who was wearing a rare smile, from behind. Why, it had to be you, she said sadly. Rias, her mother figure, took the second photo before they returned home after shopping at the mall. Why not me, the one who started this holocaust, the one who opened the Pandora box and destroyed the world? Why not me? Ophis asks, gazing lovingly but sadly at the image of Issei grinning and giving Ophis a piggyback ride while holding a puffy cotton candy. The creator of the forces of evil to kill my own family indirectly? With a melancholy tone, she said. Why did you take them away from me? Sadly, tears began to well up in her eyes once more, she said. Finally, Ophis closes her eyes and lets her consciousness descend into darkness as sleep takes over her body and mind in an attempt to relieve the pain that has been building for 1,000 years. Ophis gives the photos one last glance before hugging them as though she didn't want them to go. 2 figures stand next to each other, gazing up at the dusty sky. One figure, who was 6 feet 4 inches tall, had a black robe covering his entire body, a bandana covering his head, and a white mask with the kanji letters for regret on it. A female voice asked him, did Master always take this long to mourn her family? Unfortunately, his partner is visible when he looks to his right. Suffer is written in kanji on a white mask worn by his partner, a young woman who is 5 feet 8 inches tall and wears the same black robe as him, but with a hood on. Suffer, since our master told you about her background, I wouldn't be upset about her grieving her family, the man answered. Of course I know, regret, I'm not implying that I'm complaining about this, I just want to know how long she usually does this. Depends on how much she pent up her frustration, the taller man sighed in response. However, she typically finished in 2 or 3 hours. Shouldn't you be aware of this? The taller man asked sternly. Regret, for your information, I'm only serve under her tutelage for 8 years, and you said a day earlier this is her annual tenure to pay respect to her family, so this is my first time accompanying our master to this place. You said, my first time, Suffer looked at the taller man and then rolled her eyes, calling him a perverted bastard, incredulously. Jokes aside, I'll tell you to get used to it, Suffer, the taller man explained. That being said, don't try anything to ease her pain. You know how she suffers from the regret of how her family died, and the source of the destruction of her home world will always make her heart full of guilt. Huh? Why? Allowing oneself to be trapped in persistently negative emotions is unhealthy. The sufferer worried about her master condition and asked, it will affect her mental state. The taller man shuddered at the memory, saying, oh, trust me. I tried once and she wrecked me up badly, and for your information, I didn't ask her for a one-night stand or any bullcrap like that to forget her pain. I respect her just as much as I respect my former country's leader, and I'm not the type of jerk who would go to such lengths to get into her pants while using that as an excuse to get laid in spite of my unique comments. Could you have fooled me? The hooded young woman asked her partner. Then what did you do? When I said, wrecked me up badly, what came to mind first? Suffer gave her partner another glance before realizing, you were either brave or foolish to challenge her for a fight. She shook her head, saying, you know, you could have just given an advice rather than challenging her. Hey, in my defense, I thought she needed to wreck something to release her stress, and I'm not good at comforting people, so I offered a spar with her. The man who was larger replied sheepishly. You allow yourself to be her punching bag voluntarily, even though you are aware of how destructive her power can be. Do you have masochistic tendencies? Well, I always wanted to be chained up to bed and getting. The taller man laughed. No, I am not paying attention. I am not paying attention. I'm not going to listen to your twisted fantasies. Suffer immediately covered her ears and turned to leave the taller man. The man's expression changed when he heard a tone coming from inside his robe, and he pulled the PDA out before he could look at it. He was now laughing at his partner's reaction. Suffer, it's almost the time. Regret adopts a more formal tone. Suffer, who had been moving away from him, stopped and turned back to face the taller man. She also changed her tone to one of professionalism, asking, really? Wow, time really does fly by, she remarked. Let's go, was the man's nod in response. On it, was her response. Both people disappeared from their positions a second later, leaving behind purplish black and electrical crackling trails. Everlasting, in short, the capacity to live indefinitely. Some people find this kind of ability to be an alluring gift. Imagine being able to live forever, accomplish anything that humans would not be able to do in a few decades, learn everything there is to know, become a billionaire, create your own Half-Life 3, and do all of this without having to worry about illness, poison, injury, or assassination attempts that would prevent you from achieving your objectives. But for some, it's a curse. You may have all of eternity to accomplish your ultimate goal, but did your loved ones have the same ability? An immortal may become insane from boredom, seeing people who didn't have the same ability die, especially if that person was their precious person. Love, it's complicated for some. Being romantically attracted to someone of the opposite sex is a wonderful feeling. For others, it's an art. For still others, it's a joyful feeling. For still others, it's an ultimate weapon. For still others, it's an electrical disturbance that occurs when a boy and a girl shake hands. One thing is certain. Love is something that no immortal being should ever experience, unless they are a god or a god who represents love. If an inexperienced immortal, whether a god or a human with near immortality, comes into contact with this emotion, they tend to cling to it as if their lives depended on it, and when they lose their precious people, the immortal's curse will consume them and multiply several times worse when love is involved. Ophis discovered this the hard way. There were dark skies, a ruined city covered in ashes, destroyed war machines burning to the ground, and dead bodies scattered everywhere. The best way to describe this scene is to say, hellish. Wearing a gothic outfit, Lolita walked around limply while clutching her bleeding stomach. Eyes. Rias. Kaneko. Gasper. Where are you? This is Ophis, the infinite dragon god, looking for her family members with whom she had become close in recent months. Ophis was severely weakened by the last battle with the hero faction, a sub-faction of the Chaos Brigade, but not enough to kill her, which hindered her ability to regenerate rapidly. Rossweiss. Kiba. Akeno. Asia. Xenovia. Irina. Please answer me. The dragon god spoke up, but no one answered. Hey Michael. Sirzek. Azazel. Anyone, but once more, she got no answers. Just quiet. Ophis never stops looking for any survivors of this pointless conflict, which was initiated by the insane Rizavam Levon Lucifer, the new commander of Chaos Brigade, with the goal of destroying another dimension by releasing the apocalyptic creature known as Trihexa. Well, not anymore. Kuroka. Valley. Baku. Arof. As Ophis fell to the ground and stumbled upon a dead body, her words were interrupted. As she turned around and saw the corpse of a familiar face, those chestnut pigtails, the black combat suit, her words, cough, cough, damn it, how come I can't see a dead body in front of M, died in her mouth. Irina. Ophis quickly get up and rushed toward Irina. Get up. Get up, please. After this is over, don't you promise to play cards with me again? Ophis now shaking Irina as she attempt to wake her. Irina, play dead with me, please. Ophis keeps shaking Irina, saying, come on, wake up. I know you're alive and you just want to mess with me. However, as she yells, she notices something on Irina's body. A hole the size of a soccer ball on Irina's body, exactly where her heart is. Ophis realized that Irina was dead and that there was nothing she could do about it. No, she said. Ophis begins to get up and walk away from her friend. She must locate the others. Ophis checked the area once more, but this time she quickly located the other 200 meters north of Irina's location. She saw another dead body with blue hair and green mesh lying prone next to a big blue blade with gold edges embedded in the ground. Zenobia! Ophis yelled as she hurriedly rushed back to Zenovia's position. As soon as she got there, she turned Zenovia's body around and immediately regretted what she had done. No, how could this have occurred? Why is this taking place? She saw not only that Zenovia was dead but also that she had severe injuries. Her right arm was missing and half of her face was burned to the point of being unrecognizable. As Ophis tries to make sense of what is happening in front of her, she can only watch with her mouth open. No, this can be happening. I don't. Ophis is unable to speak, so she tears some of her clothes and covers Zenovia's face with them. When she is finished, she gets back up and leaves Zenovia's body behind to look for the others with a heavy heart. After 2 hours, how could this have occurred? 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 Ophis thought frantically as her thoughts returned to her family's circumstances, none of which were pleasant. Kiba was discovered dead, with a sword pierced deep into his chest and numerous stab wounds and cuts. Akeno was discovered dead, with 2 of her fallen angel wings savagely severed. Gasper was fatally pierced by numerous light spears from renegade fallen angels. Kaneko, she was discovered dead, embracing Kuroka. Rosweiss appears to have had the worst death thus far, with her lower body burned to ashes and her upper body still intact despite numerous cuts and bruises. Asia was the least of all. If Rosweiss had suffered the worst, she was discovered dead with her Bible in her hand. But above all, Rias, her mother figure, was also discovered dead, lying on the ground with stab wounds, cuts, and bruises in addition to a pool of her own blood. Ophis is currently walking on autopilot because her mind is having a breakdown and keeps replaying the scene of her death. Family members, she continues to walk until she comes to a huge crater in the middle of the city. Along with the dead bodies of angels, fallen angels, and devils, she saw 2 enormous giants lying dead on the ground at the edge of the crater, one of them a massive red dragon and the other a beast with a disfigured face. Knowing that her opponent was dead, Ophis would have grinned triumphantly, but if she hadn't met her family, she would still have wanted to expel Great Red from her original house. Right now? What did I do? Ophis lost her strength and fell to her knees. I only wanted to kick that idiot Red from the dimensional gap, she said in a melancholy tone, but in the end, I made monsters that killed everyone on the planet. Then her mind made a sudden connection. The monsters were made by her. The damned Chaos Brigade was founded by her. This world's Pandora box was opened by her. She is the one who created the monsters, allowed them to do as they pleased, and allowed them to wreak havoc on this planet. And murdered her family. When Ophis realized she was the cause of this apocalyptic event, she started crying after hearing that final statement. Hyodo Issei, the current Sekiryute, offered her a place to call home after she lost 2/3 of her power. They treat her like a member of their family and do not view her as a nuisance or the head of the Chaos Brigade. And over the past few months, she began to express her emotions to every member of the Hyodo household to their delight. They gladly obliged to teach her everything she needed to know about being a family. Everything was going smoothly. However, everything changed when Chaos Brigade began their multidimensional invasion campaign and destroyed everything. And she allowed that to occur because, as their leader, she failed to actively hold those bastards accountable, which led to her family's demise. Huh? What was that? Her face instantly brightened when she thought of another survivor, her pointed ears twitching as she heard some noises from a distance. To improve her hearing, she directed the last of her magic into her ears. Although it was hardly more than a whisper, Ophis is certain she heard something. He then applies more magic to her ears. S-A-O, she inserted more into her ears, but she can hardly hear the words this time. She applied more magic to her ears, doubling the amount this time, and now she can hear it, albeit only partially. Anyone, anybody, hello? Ophis's eyes grew wide. She was familiar with that voice and knew its source. Without wasting any time, she plunges into the crater, disregarding her wounds, and tumbles to the bottom before sprinting toward the crater's center. She worriedly thought, please be okay. She didn't want to see another family member pass away. It was painful for her, it was really painful for her. When she finally reached the source of the voice, she was met by a young man with brown hair, wearing red draconic armor. Leaning his back on a sword embedded in the ground behind him, he was missing an arm, and there was a pool of blood on his stomach. Eyes! Ophis exclaimed as she embraces him in a warm hug, you're alive. Before giving the hug back, Eyes could only say, Ophis, you, okay? Ophis shot back, I should be the one asking that question. He Eyes only managed to say, sorry cough, before blood began to flow from his mouth. She reaches for him, but a bloody armored hand stops her. Don't talk, it'll only make it worse. Let me heal you, she says. Don't bother, Ophis, whether you heal me or not, I will not survives this one, Eyes replied weakly. Avoid saying that. I'll see to it that you live. Ophis took Eyes' arm away and placed it over his stomach, focusing her mana to create healing magic on her hand, only to discover that none of his wounds had healed. He coughed up blood once more and said, Ophis, it's no use, I will not survive. No, you'll make it. I'll see to it that you survive this catastrophe, just as you did against Cao Cao, the evil dragons, and that bastard Rizavum, she yelled. She continued to use magic on her hands, but his wounds did not heal. Damn it, hurry up. Heal. Ophis, stop. No, I won't give up. Ophis, listen, no, you'll survive. I will not let you perish. Ophis, I will not serve. You dare not say it. You won't be lost the way I lose everyone else. Every boy dies, Eyes, she said, tears streaming down her cheeks among those I cared about. Irina, Zenobia, Rosweiss, Gasper, Asia, Kiba, Kaneko, Akano, Rias, and others pass away. Eyes, you are the only one remaining. I don't want to lose you like I lose everyone else, she said, her voice beginning to falter. I will, therefore, make sure you survive. She let out a louder cry. For the first time in his life, Eyes witnessed Ophis cry and show compassion for him after being shocked by the fates of his friends and lovers. Perhaps she began to open up, but she still acted like a speechless robot with little emotion, but now she seems to be expressing who she really is. Sob, do you recall the time we went mall shopping? Eyes smiled when he was asked that question. He remembered it, of course, and it was one of his favorite moments with Rias and Ophis. I remembered, of course, but why? His voice became heavy. When I got lost, and the announcer made an embarrassing announcement. I don't really mean it, Sob, but when I told the announcer you're as my father, Rias as my mother and the others as my sister, I really mean it. Eyes was completely taken aback. Eyes is a mother material, of course, but did she really mean it? Am I really a good father? I'm a worthless pervert with a huge breast fetish and aspirations of becoming a harem king, and she thinks I'm a suitable father? So, please, don't pass away, Eyes Tusan. She gave Eyes a tender hug and startled her by adding the suffix, I don't want to lose you. Sob as she begins to gaze up at Eyes with teary red eyes, she continued, like I lose Rias Ka-chan and my big sisters. Eyes gave her a dejected smile before kissing her forehead and giving her hugs in return. I appreciate that you consider me to be your father in spite of the fact that I've ever done in my life, he said, turning to face Ophis. But, I'm sorry Ophis-chan, looks like this is my time to go, he said sorrowfully. She frantically attempted to persuade him, saying, no, please don't die Tusan. Look, I can create another body from great red flesh and I can transfer your soul to your new bow. He interrupted, saying, that won't work, Ophis-chan. I used every single one of my. Ophis was shocked once more, saying, my life force has been depleted. You see, I'm still wondering why am I still alive when I'm supposed to be. Eyes said, dead, as his eyes gradually lost all of their color and his breath became labored. Ophis's eyes widened in horror upon learning that it appears his father's fate has already been sealed and that there is no way to change it. No, 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 please, Tusan, please, don't leave me, please. Ophis tightened her embrace as if she didn't want to let go, and when Issei gave her another hug, Ophis could feel his cold hand. Ophis-chan? Yes, Tusan? Are you love me? Sob, sniff, why yes. I do Tusan. Would you then pay attention to my final will and testament? Ophis can only comply in sorrow because she is aware that her father's death is inevitable. What is your will? First, never, ever, let our death be a burden for you. Secondly, don't put the blame on yourself. Ophis replied quickly. However, I am the one who allowed those bastards to cause this madness. Ophis was unable to complete her sentences as Issei swiftly tightened his embrace around her, and let the other, D. Don't, Ophis, don't, you didn't mean this to happen. You're just unfortunate that there's some madman manipulated you to achieve their twisted goals, Issei replied. I'm sorry, was all that Issei could make out in Ophis's muffled voice. As the final words were spoken, Issei's hand went limp to his side, releasing his embrace from his daughter. And my last will. Live your life. To the fullest. My lit. TLE. Draw. Gone. You-san? Ophis asked, but received no answer, and when she turned to face eyes, she saw a pair of dead eyes. You-san? Ophis reiterated, shaking his body in the same way that she shook her deceased mother and sisters in the hopes that her father would awaken. You-san? Please wake up, don't leave me alone in here, she said again, but the response was the same as it was for the other corpses she discovered. Quietness. Ophis is now limited to giving her father another hug and crying again. Just take his final breath. Hyodo Issei, the Securute, the heiress of Pawn of Gremory, Rias Gremory's fiancé, and father of the infinite dragon god. Ooh. Ophis's eyes flutter as she awakens from the nightmare she just had, again with those nightmares, the same nightmare that haunts me for years, she says, getting to her feet before turning to face her father's photo once more. As for living to the fullest, I've tried fulfilling your dying will like you asked, To-san, but even with my best shot I still can't stop blaming myself for your death, she said in a melancholy tone. She glanced at the photo one last time before returning it to her pocket. I tried it, To-san, but I feel incomplete somehow. It's like quarterly completed jigsaw puzzles with the rest of the pieces gone, never meant to be found again. She returned to gazing at the filthy sky while her thoughts replayed the joyful times she had spent with her family, that is, until her sharp ears detected a disturbance in the distance. Her dejected expression gradually changed to a chilly one, as if on cue. I told them not to bother me. Is something going on? She asked. Ophis said in a tone devoid of emotion. I specifically told you not to interrupt me. Regret. Suffer. You better have a good reason interrupting me, she said, her icy eyes locking with the tall figure. Regret and his companion knelt down in front of Ophis and said, Pardon our rudeness, my master, but I think I need to inform about our next schedule. Ophis narrowed her eyes and said, The next travel won't start for another 2 hours, so give me a damn good reason for interrupting my time. She gets very upset when someone interferes with her alone time. Master, if you hadn't noticed, you've been gone for 5 hours and it's almost the time for our next travel, Suffer said, defending her partner and choosing to shoulder some of the blame for their master's ire. Ophis blinked a couple of times before taking a PDA out of her pocket and tapping on it multiple times, indicating that she was taking far too long to grieve. As she returned her PDA to her pocket, Ophis palmed her face in frustration and said, I guess depression got me really hard this day. Rise, my faithful servant, the fault is on me. I'm the one who lost track of time, she said. Regret and Suffer rose from the earth as per their master's command. So, master, what are your orders? Regret inquired. Go to Dimensional Gap and prepare the gateway for our next travel. I'll join you in a few minutes, instructed Ophis. Very well, master, we'll prepare the gateway, he said, and then both Suffer and Regret disappeared from Ophis' view, encircled by purplish-black energy and electricity, respectively. Ophis sighed as she realized that she was spending too much time in mourning. She didn't want that to happen because she still had a lot of things to do, but sometimes she can't help it because it's the only way she can remember her happy times and take stock of herself so she won't make any foolish decisions in the future. Ophis turns around to get ready for her final task here. Well, I guess there's only one thing to do before I leave this place. A flashback. Sing. Yes, Ophis-chan. Do you want to join us when we sing at a karaoke bar at noon today? Irina was requesting that the younger Ophis. What makes you want to sing? Ophis's head cocked. Irina cheerfully replied, because we're going to have fun together. No, I'm asking why you want to sing. What's the goal? Irina grinned at the dragon god and said, it's because singing a song is the ideal way to express ourselves. Ophis-chan. Sometimes in order to express our desires. And to enjoy yourself, of course. Would you like to accompany us now? Would you please? With Aiz-kun, Rias, Zenobia, and Asia, it will be enjoyable, you know. Ophis didn't take long to respond, even though she seemed to consider it. I would like to come. Irina erupts with delight upon hearing Ophis' response. Wonderful. I will let the others know. You'll enjoy this, Ophis-chan, I'll tell you. End of the flashback. Ophis takes a deep breath and lets it out before singing a song to express how she feels. She usually does this after finishing her yearly activity for 10 years in an attempt to release all of her frustration, and it's a fairly effective way to relieve stress for a simple activity. She inhales deeply once more before beginning to sing slowly. As Ophis sings the next verse of the song, she closes both of her eyes and visualizes her family. This is the point in the verse where she truly expresses her heart. She inhaled deeply before letting everything out. Ophis controlled her breathing as she finished, and she looked up at the dirty sky again, but this time a tiny smile adorned her pale, lovely face as she felt some of her burden simply leave her body. I will leave soon, to San, Ka-chan, Ne Sans, Ni Sans, wherever you are. Wish me up good luck for my next travel. A few seconds later, Ophis disappears from her position, leaving black trails in her wake, just like her servants did before. The space between heaven, the underworld, and the earth is known as the void of the world. It resembles a kaleidoscope and was teeming with the power of nothingness, which is the ability to eliminate everything from the world. Without adequate protection, any living thing, human or supernatural, that enters the dimensional gap will be wiped out entirely, leaving nothing behind. Ophis lived there initially until Great Red the True Dragon expelled her from her kaleidoscope home. Ophis pondered, good old memories, as she drifted through the opening toward the locations of her servants. Ophis herself is a living embodiment of nothingness. Unlike most supernatural beings, by wielding this power, she is endowed with immunity to its destructive nature, meaning she doesn't require any kind of defense against the power of nothingness that prowls this realm, making her the real ruler of this place. Ophis initially had no idea how Great Red could withstand the emptiness of her house, but after looking through some of her recollections, she realized that Great Red is a dragon that stands for dream. She then understands how he can endure in this world. Dreams can be controlled by Great Red. He has the ability to bring dreams to life. He will exist in this realm if he desires to. Ophis will lose if he wants it to, and it did. Now, why didn't he create his own realm to live in and decide to expel her from her house and occupy it if he had the ability to make dreams come true? He took her home, but why? And how dare he interfere with her top 10 to-do list's favorite activities? Floating aimlessly in dimensional gap. Alright, so perhaps he did Ophis a favor by evicting her from her house. Ophis grimaced inwardly, and I feel like a certain pink-colored idiotic starfish in Hawaiian pants. She had once seen a cartoon featuring a silly, carefree yellow sponge and his friend, the idiotic pink starfish, with Asia and Irina. She promptly requested that Irina switch to another form of entertainment, as she described it at the time, after she felt offended by an episode in which the foolish starfish said, "Nothing, I just finished," before removing a to-do list with the word, "nothing," written in an ugly manner and crossing it off with a pencil. Anyway, Ophis dismissed the notion that there were other worlds in this world, believing Rizavam to be nothing more than a madman's bastard who used trihexa as a petty excuse to conquer another realm and see the world burn. She had to give him some credit now, though there are other realms. Dimensional Gap provides access to additional realms. And while that bastard appears to have discovered it first by thoroughly researching Dimensional Gap, she discovered it by accident when she unintentionally released a certain amount of power while training herself to better understand her power. And Ophis detests, admitting that Rizavam created a portal to a different world while the homeowner has been unable to accomplish this feat for more than 4-5 billion years. But thanks to him, I can try to fulfill Tusan's dying will and treat my bleeding heart. Yes, she is trying to cure her bleeding heart, but she is unable to do so, and the only way she can prevent herself from going insane is to treat her heart by living in a different world. Making friends with the locals was the first thing she always did when visiting a new world. She then blends in with them, studies their world history, and tries to learn more about their societies. After that, she traveled the world and studied it in great detail for every conflict she encountered, every local and international event she attended, every culture she liked, and many other things. She would gladly assist if there was anything in some worlds that needed her help and get to work right away. Making her name in other worlds, whether they are medieval or future, is another thing she would do. However, she usually does this in medieval worlds because it's easy, like slaying a dragon. Though Ophis thought it was kind of ironic, but hey, it's evil dragons, as opposed to future worlds where she has to be aware of a ton of crap about politics, economies, modern societies, public opinion, the internet, etc. Nevertheless, there are some enjoyable future worlds. After a while, Ophis left the world and returned to the Dimensional Gap, where she reviewed and summarized her development before moving on to the next world. The Gateway. Is it ready? Unlike many other living things, Ophis bestowed upon her servants a number of blessings, one of which is that they are immune to the destructive force of Dimensional Gap, which explains why they are not donning any kind of magical barrier. Behind him, Regret said, "Yes, Master, The gateway is ready to use. All we need now is the location. Her companion was a massive magical gateway that took the shape of a spiraling mass of red energy. Okay, without further ado, we'll go to... Ophis stopped in the middle of her statement, seemingly realizing something. Master? What's wrong? Said Suffer. Ophis said sheepishly, I don't know where we are going next. Don't tell me, Master, that you forgot to set up your next schedule. Once more Regret wrinkled his face and sighed. Hey, alright, I'm having one of those moments. I don't often forget my schedule. Is this just a cyclical occurrence? Yeah, cyclical occurrence, Ophis shot back. You see, for this reason, I advised you to get a good night's sleep every day or whenever we completed our travels, but you chose to stay up for decades, saying things like, I must make a review of our travel, I don't have time for sleep, you're the one who need more sleep. Go take some sleep, I'm fine. Where has this led us? Really, why do you care more about us, your servants, than yourself? Regret lectured like everyone else, you need to sleep and rest. Yes, Grandpa, I will take your advice to my heart, Ophis said mockingly, emphasizing the word, Grandpa, while rolling her eyes and listening to her servants. Says the old hag who lived for 4 or 5 billion years, Regret said mockingly, raising an eyebrow in frustration. You retract that. Nope, don't wanna. Regret. Nope, take that back or I'll make you. Nah. I apologize, I'll say it again. Take that. Words black aura began to envelop Ophis, suggesting that she disapproved of her servant mentality. Back or I will smack your head so hard until your eyes pop out. But since his name implies a sense of regret or sadness, Regret chose to live up to his moniker. Then make me, old hag. He laughed before disappearing in electrical crackling. That's it, come back here, you little, Ophis yelled, her eyes glowing red with anger and steam emanating from her ears before she too began to disappear, leaving only black trails in her wake. A victim who has only witnessed her partner and master making fun of one another can only sigh and palm her mask. Immortal and their antics, after 5 minutes. How did you fall? Master? Suffer questioned her master, who was now grinning. I truly need that, so it's never better. I appreciate you asking. You're welcome, Suffer said gently before looking at her bruised partner who was lying next to her master. How about you, Regret? Get wrecked so bad, totally worth it. Even though it's entertaining for you to use my partner as a punching bag, would you kindly choose where we go next? The hooded servant shook her head at her partner before turning back to face her master. All right, I suppose it's time to get to work. We just chose a random destination because I didn't plan where we were going next. Ophis moved in the direction of the gateway, holding both of her hands forward, and directed her energy toward it. As soon as her energy touched the gateway, the red spiraling mass of energy began to spin faster and faster until it transformed into a translucent image of a fast food restaurant with the name, W.C. Donald. Nope, already visited, she said, waving her hand to her right, transforming the image of a dirty brown boy with a ring of blonde hair on the gateway to another realm. Nope, already visited, and too plain for my taste. Ophis waves her hand once more, and the gateway changes the image once more to show a world in which Russia and the United States are at war. What is this? Third World War. No, I don't want my next trip to begin with 2 superpowers killing one another. As his hooded partner was healing him, Regret said, I thought you said you will gladly help any realm if they have serious problem. Yes, but this realm's humanity doesn't have any alien, subterranean humanoid creature, space zombie or anything like that attacking them. Only humans from different countries fighting from one big misunderstanding, so no. Ophis waves at her once more, and the scene shifts to nighttime, revealing a teenage girl with red hair wielding 2 short blades. I already visited this realm twice, so no. Ophis waves her hand once more, and the scene shifts to a medieval setting with many people dressed as nobility. No. Both of Ophis' servants cried out. Ophis turns to face her bewildered servants, saying, Huh? Why? With a poisonous tone, Suffer said, didn't you recognize their clothes? Hell, you ought to have been able to identify them all. In addition, aren't you the one who stated that you don't want to do anything in that realm? Spat Regret. Master, you knew well how that place filled with corrupted noble. Ophis looked back at the gateway and carefully examined their appearances until she recognized them. She said in a chilly monotone, You were right, sorry I didn't realize it sooner. Ophis quickly changed their destination once more. This time the realm changed to a picture of a young man without a shirt, swooning over a girl who was a little shorter than him. The young man said, Tell me, do you ever dream of being a vampire? Ophis's eyebrows twitched violently, and it was evident that she and her servants were growing a tick mark. Is this how vampires are portrayed nowadays? Regret's eyebrow is also twitching beneath his mask. Suffer remarked cynically, unbelievable, I don't think I can look at modern time vampire the same again. Ophis turned to face her female attendants and said, hey, that offended me, one of my brother figures met a similar but distinct end. Are you a vampire's brother? Yes. No, I mean that she is a dhampir who is half vampire and half human. With a puzzled expression, Suffer asked her master, what do you mean by she? I mistook him for your brother. Ophis was about to respond, but she bit her lip to stop disparaging her brother figure. You know what? Put it down, the conversation is over because I don't want to talk about it. Suffer shrugged after hearing her master and chose to end the conversation. Okay. Ophis waved her hand to her side once more, and 10 figures appeared in a different realm. One figure was a man holding a shield with the same design and wearing a blue, red and white uniform with a star in the center. The other figure was a man wearing red armor with a glowing core on both his palms and the center of his armor. The other figure is a tall, green, muscular man. Nope, we're not going there, Ophis said, not bothering to glance at the others because she knew who they were. Why? Regret asked at her master's refusal. As I remember, Suffer and I haven't been to this world, and they seem like a bunch of good guys. I've visited that world once long before I recruit you, and I quickly become their target. Master, you didn't do something stupid in that realm, right? No, I didn't, Suffer. In fact, I did a lot of good things, Ophis said with a swift glance. However, I erred by using some of my power in that area. Master, you're not killing anyone, are you? Of course not, Ophis retorted. It's just that how did you feel when a powerful creature unleashed a certain amount of power that represents their elements? Suffer placed a hand on her chin. Well, for magical being represents fire beings, we can feel the warmth and rage of the fire. For those who represents water, we can feel the feelings of calm and soothing like water. Regret keeps saying, earth is like strong-willed and full of determination, and wind is like feeling freedom or something. Correct, Ophis applauds. You two know what I stand for now, don't you? Her servants both nod. Then you must be aware of the sensation I get when I use my power. Her servants are able to make the connections quickly. Impending destruction and doom. Ophis dismissed the idea of a planet from orbit by waving her hand once more. Correct, and that's why always being chased by them anyway. Let's find another realm. The planet resembles Earth, but a portion of it is shrouded in green mist. Looks like we finally found our destination, Helgen, the home of Helgast people, Ophis said with a smile upon seeing the picture. When her master verified her next destination, regret grew. Really? I never thought you want to go back to that place again, she said. You kidding me? Of course I want to go back to that place. We did so much to that planet to the point I considered it as my second home. Ophis said with a smile. Man, I wonder how Helgen this day. Yeah, me too. I wonder how the soldier I personally trained doing today, how long we've been gone. Ophis remarked, 12 years, regret, 12 years, damn times sure flies fast. I wonder how's Vasari doing these days, but she omitted the final sentence. Master, may I ask you a question? Suffer is obviously perplexed by the unexpected joy. Go ahead, Suffer, the hooded servant questioned. Why do you look so happy? And what is Helgen? Ophis explained, drawing magic circles with glyphs, and then projecting a hologram of the Milky Way galaxy. Ah, I recruited you 8 years ago, right? Well, I guess it's time for a quick history lesson. 10 years before I recruited you, I visited this realm with regret, and we gift the people of Helgen their long-lost desire, a place to call home. Now, Helgen is a planet located at this, she says, touching a specific area of the galaxy with her thumb and index finger before making a zoom gesture that causes the galactic map to zoom to a star system called Alpha Centauri, revealing 2 planets the size of Earth. Vecta is more or less a clone of Earth, while Helgen is harsh and uninhabitable planet with many valuable minerals. Both of these planets were once controlled by a wealthy company named Helgen Corporation, a massive energy and mining conglomerate dedicated to make a better place for the Earth colonies of Vecta and Helgen. Wait, what happened on Earth? Is a cut-off regretfully respond. World War III happened, and before you ask, not that World War III feed we watched seconds ago, no. This realm's World War III occurred in 2055 to 2059. The aftermath of the war caused the humanity to lose too many of their resources and land, forcing them to go to space exploration to find another resources. That's why you can see human colonizing Vecta and Helgen. Also, just to lighting up Master's job, in 2116 Helgen Corporation realized the economic importance, managed to win a colonialization right, allowing them to colonize the Alpha Centauri system. I see. Sorry for cutting you off, please continue, Master. Ophis replied, Nah, it's fine and thanks regret. Anyway, in 2129 the Helgen Corporation's colonies land on Vecta and established civilization on it along with the years that comes by. Helgen Corporation reached their platinum age at the year of 2190 inches when Ophis touches the Earth clone planet. A holographic timer appears, and she sets the time back to 2190 to see a stunning city with numerous futuristic features. During the interval of 2129-2190 Helgen Corporation changed itself into Helgen Administration and even managed stockpiled their money to buy the right of Alpha Centauri System UCN United Colonial Nations, an organization dedicated to watch over humanity and their colonies who short on money and drooling over the amount of zeros in it quickly accepted, leaving the Alpha Centauri completely under Helgen Administration control, leaving them flourishing, says Ophis. And as a sign of goodwill, in 2133 the Helgen Administrator agreed to fund the ISA Interplanetary Strategic Alliance, a body that allowed individual colonies the ability to integrate defensive capabilities to their specific requirements as well as enjoy full partnership in a unified defensive alliance of multiple colonies, Ophis went on. However, Ophis zoomed out of the system, swiped the map to the Sol system, and zoomed out on Earth, revealing a number of people attending a meeting. Their ruling organization, UCN, began to worry about the Helgen administration's stranglehold on the economy and any autonomy demands other colonies might demand. They also become frustrated that the Helgen administration is profiting off colonial endeavors that the UCN itself has underwritten, so that's why they issued to strengthen their army, United Colonial Army or UCA. They also made a new taxes and regulations which ends up revoking Helgen administration's contract they sold to them 74 years ago, Ophis stated with a frown on her face. The Helgens refuse this, and tried to talks with the UCN but fails since both organization and corporation do not budge on tariffs and self-defense. Then on 2199, the Helgen administration declares Alpha Centauri is an independent entity which sparks a war between UCN and Helgen administration, Ophis said, zooming out from Earth back to the Alpha Centauri system, touching Vecta, and setting the timer to 2199. He then revealed a man speaking to the people of Vecta from a podium. The end of the war is devastating, Ophis said gravely as he reset the timer to 2204, this time displaying images of destroyed fleets and space stations. While the UCA and ISA suffered minimum casualties, the Helgen however is suffering the worst as their soldier didn't receive a proper training and losing a lot of their assets. Suffer roared, apparently incensed and disagreeing with the Helgen administration's decision to go to war, saying, "What? How come they didn't train their soldiers properly? In a world like this they at the very least should have received basic military training. It is just the same as sending civilians with guns to war." Simple Suffer, they were a peaceful colony. What? Suffer blinked twice. Helgen administration were a peaceful colony, Ophis repeated. They were an organization dedicated to provide their people with better life. They may have weapons but the sole purpose is to defend their home planet, not to wage war, and their military were mostly polices and volunteers. Then why declared a war with UCN? Good question. In the eyes of UCN, Helgen administrator reap profit from their hub system from every colonies that visited Vecta, and they seems to stole many of Earth origin shipbuilders with their fortune, while in the eye of Helgen administrator they saw UCN has gone mad because they suffered economic depression and will do anything to fill their pocket. With that set in mind, the Helgens declared war against UCN to defend their people. I see. Then what happened to the Helgens? Ophis moves the map toward Helgen, a harsh planet with fierce storms and electrifying skylines. By zooming out from Vecta, additionally, set the timer to run between 2209 and 2347. A number of images will appear, many of which are sick Helgens, and none of them are pleasant. After UCN and the ISA seized all of the Helgen administration's assets and everything they got, including their home planet Vecta, after that, they commenced a greatest exodus in history of all mankind, as they put it, to Helgen. Forced to leave their original home, took their wealth for their own greed. Unbelievable, Suffer added. And for 138 years, they managed to survive this hellhole by a sheer willpower alone? I'm impressed, Suffer agreed. They don't have willpower, Suffer, just an empty husk living their day waiting someone to save them, regretted. What do you mean? Regretfully, he looks at his master and says, "May I?" Ophis gives a, "Sure, go ahead," nod. "Thank you, master." Regret approached the galactic map, took a few photos, and proceeded. During the course of the year 2209-2230 the people of Helgen started to face many issues, including health and economic issue. The health issue is already common occurrence as many of them started to getting sick due to the Helgen's harsh environment, and the economic issue reached its peak at 2230 when the need of maintenance cost for their recently upgraded factories arise. combined with continuous embargoes and larger populations, caused the lack of vital supplies. This made the peoples to grow more resentful towards the Issa and their collaborators, and at the same time lose their faith on Helgen administration, since they can't handle the situation as good as before. They were as good as dead. Wait, hold on. Suffer cuts off. I thought Master said UCN they're having problem with. Why they grow more resentful on the Issa? 1. After the end of the war, Vecta was handed over by the UCN to the Issa to watch over Alpha Centauri activities. 2. The Issa were the one who put embargoes on Helgen and instigated an unfair trade with them. And 3. They killed the most during the war. Regret responded quickly. Damn, continue Regret. Regret selected an image of a man in his 50s with a bald head and a beautifully decorated black coat. Okay now, I forgot what the exact date, but around 2347, she said. A single titular figure named Skolar Vasari, a politic ambitious man, arose by gathering the people of Helgen, giving them hope for the future, and at the same time initiated a coup by overthrowing almost defunct Helgen administration and seized control all over Helgen and proclaimed himself as the autarch of Helgen and changed the name of the humans live in Helgen as the Helgest. Regret continued. Suffer thought, Helgest haunting spirit from hell. As he closed the holographic map and replaced the picture, Regret concluded, and around this time Master and I enter this world to fulfill their long-lost desired home. I see. Just one question though, what is it, Suffer? Why did you and Master decided to help them? I can deduce that under the leadership of this schooler. Scholar, Ophis interrupted her to correct the younger member, regretfully. Right, Skolar Vasari. Under his leadership the Helgest will probably went into ultranationalist totalitarian militaristic empire state, since Vasari is a man who looks very ambitious, not to mention vengeful and bitter person. Why, or rather what made you want to help them, Master? Sufferer inquired. For a few seconds, Ophis closed her eyes, because I saw myself in them, she said, turning to face the picture of Helgen on the swirling gateway. And look what happened to my home world just because of these 3 simple negative emotions, Ophis said solemnly, and to my family. They remind me of what I'd become over a millennium ago, vengeful, bitter, defeated. Ophis returned her focus to Suffer. That's why I decided to lead them back to the right way, not because I want to avoid war with the UCN and the Issa. Hell no, those bastards deserve to be taught a lesson for their unfair trade toward the Helgest, especially at 2330-2350. Ophis responded, sorry, but it's because they have misled toward the side of evil and clouded by Vasari's vision of vengeance, completely disregarding their ancestors' vision of peace, and I need to correct that before it leads to the same path I took. I see. Thank you for the exposition, Master. For a second I thought you were supporting their ideas of war. Ophis and her servant laughed when she said, hey, you're welcome, Suffer. Can't blame you though. Vasari's do looks like a depressed bad guy with bald head and frowny face. But it was true. After 10 years in Helgen, Ophis and Regret grew close to the autarch of Helgen to the point where they could be considered best friends. But wow, the autarch of Helgen is a freaking ice cube. They hardly ever saw him smile, never once saw him joke around, and he always had the same frown on his face. Ophis became so irritated that she nearly yelled, fuck it, and proceeded to pinch his cheeks before scrunching them with her bare hands and yelling, come on, smile, goddammit. Ophis, however, was superior to that. Taking a cue from her second mother who transforms into an ant, she chose to get along with it while making fun of the icy autarch. So what did you do at Helgen? Oh, nothing big. I only created several 3 or 5 layered massive transmutation magic circle complete with elemental glyphs fueled by Regret's senjutsu here and there and deployed it, he said casually. Suffer's eyes widened as she bashed out at Ophis, who couldn't help but smile at her accomplishment on Helgen. Nothing big? Nothing big? Master, that 5-layered magic circle enough to cover roughly 25% of planet's surface with nothing but healthy vegetation. What you did was terraforming their toxic home planet into Third Earth. That's not something you simply considered, nothing big, you must be. The main source of the Helgest people's animosity is the Issa and their allies, particularly the UCN, who stole their ancestral home of Vecta and allowed the Issa to occupy it as if it were their own property while the founder was rejected and persecuted by them. To be honest, Ophis didn't really mind if the Helgest decided to attack Vecta in order to take back their home, but as previously mentioned, if they truly allowed their hatred to grow unchecked, it would lead to something they would later regret. Thus, she chose to turn Helgen into their home by transforming it into a Third Earth, which forced them to recognize their ancestors' actual motivation for the colonization scheme. Master, are you listening to me? I'm sorry, did you say something? Ophis blinked at her servant as she snapped back to reality. Ignoring his partner's tirades, Regret laughed at her master's response. When Suffer realizes her master has been ignoring her the entire time, She seems to grow a tick mark on her. She wanted to scream in exasperation, but she refrained. It's nothing. Never mind it. Ophis looked up. Sorry for ignoring you, but I heard the first one. I see no big deal in it. Besides, I'm doing this so they can enjoy what they never felt before. I rather considered it as community service than a god giving them their blessings, explained Ophis. When Ophis finished, both of her servants approached her and Ophis locked her next destination. Anyway, we're wasting time here. Let's end the history lesson and step into this world. Ophis and her servants were bathed in bright light after she confirmed her next destination before she vanished entirely from Dimensional Gap. Her final thoughts were, I wonder how's my little princess doing all these years? Helgen, 2357 City of Pyrrhus, Helgen's biggest city. Additionally, before the Helgen administration's demise, this city was the first to be founded and the first civilization to be established. Housing for roughly 12 million people, including both civilians and Helgest employees. The majority of the city was made up of dilapidated apartments and homes, slums, and factories that stretched far and wide. There were also numerous cable cars that led to the military complex and, eventually, to Vasari's palace, where the Autarch of Helgen resides, as well as ground cars strewn throughout the city. Overall, Pyrrhus is similar to Washington, D.C., but with the living conditions of third world countries, due to its large population, slums, and Vasari's palace. However, that was 10 years ago with skyscrapers, landmarks, green spaces, seaports, and a park that the Autarch called Vasari's Park. Pyrrhus City now stood tall and proud against the blue sky. Many upscale housing complexes and apartments have replaced the dilapidated homes and apartments. Additionally, this is making the city's slums virtually non-existent. Due to environmental changes, the factories in this city have also changed because of a traveling dragon god. The CEOs of all the factories in Pyrrhus have chosen to process their waste before disposing of it in order to protect their homes. Terraforming has also made the lands in Helgen extremely fertile, making them ideal for the agricultural sector and cattle grazing. As a result, Helgen saw the emergence of private sectors with a wide range of enterprises, including farms, restaurants, clothing, and agriculture. Because they needed more variations for their business and to lighten certain company work like Thoralf Sigurd Vig, the authorities did not stop the civilians from starting their own companies. This company produces and distributes a lot of food in addition to trains, railroads, and spaceships. Despite producing only MRE and protein bars, this company saved the Helgest from starvation during their harsh years. Additionally, the Thoralf Sigurd Vig company transferred the responsibility to the emerging private sector and began concentrating on shipbuilding, which is what they do best. The company continued to produce food, but in order to secure more funding, it now concentrated on military MRE. Pyrrhus is like this today. What was once thought to be a slum-filled city has evolved into an industrial metropolis with a wide range of cutting-edge enterprises, the hub of the Helgen economy, and a representation of their military might. The Palace of Vasari Dusk, the Autarch of Helgen's residence, Vasari's palace, was situated above the hill of Pyrrhus. A bald man in a flamboyant black coat stood outside the palace's balcony, gazing down at the capital city. This man is Skolar Vasari, the man who rebuilt his country and shaped it into what it is today, the man who restored its strength to match or surpass that of their oppressors, and the man who restored their pride as a race that has persevered through the hardships of exile into a proud race with superior economic and military capabilities. Vasari could see a large crowd of his people gathered in Vasari Square below him, with fireworks illuminating the sky with stunning sparks in honor of Helgen Day and confetti adorning the sky above the square. Helgen Day was a national holiday in Helgen, where the Helgest celebrated the beginning of the year of prosperity and the end of their sufferings, which they had been missing for 138 years. Vasari couldn't help but laugh as a tiny smile appeared on his face. With a deep, noble voice, he remarked, "Imagine what my nation would have become if God hadn't come to help us. It will stay as a city with many slums and surrounded by poverty, and didn't I told you I'm not a god?" The Autarch, not expecting a response, turns to see a woman with long black hair and pointed ears wearing a black coat similar to his own but with fewer decorations. She hugs her supple body, particularly around her chest. An. Hee, it's double D's, IYKWIM, so kind of forget about it. Lady Ophis? I thought you were down there enjoying the merriment? I was, until Regret started sprouting dirty jokes with your officers. Oh, you have my sympathy. No, I'm used to it. 343 years with him, you're bound to endure his antics, Ophis said, dismissing him as she moved to stand next to the Autarch on the balcony. Well, how about you? Why are you standing here overwatching the city? Instead join the festivities. Every high-ranking officers, even Radek and the generals, join into the joy down there. I would like to join, but for some reason I prefer watching my people up here rather than jumping into the liveliness. Still can't believe it, can you? Ophis sighed at the autarch. Vasari said, to be honest, no I can't. I once thought to turn this planet into a militaristic totalitarian empire and reclaim our home of Vecta, but you arrived into this world a decade ago and now look what you did. He gestured, all of this, with his hand. You gave us hope, purpose and more importantly a bright future for every Helga's children, and you brought happiness to my people, something that I couldn't give. I'm still overwhelmed with the sudden changes and how quick you did this, Vasari said with disbelief. Era, you don't need to fuss it over and over again. Vasari, a word of advice, don't think the common sense behind the power of supernatural. You'll just hurt your mind. Ufu, Ophis said, laughing when he saw the autarch. Maybe you're right, I shouldn't think about the reason behind your mumbo-jumbo tricks. Vasari, it's called magic and, Ophis turned to face him after blinking multiple times as though she had realized something. Did you just crack a joke? She asked. Vasari smiled slightly and repeated a portion of Ophis's words, saying, I'm bound to pick up something from you, my friend, after 10 years with you. Ophis scoffed and said, oh, you just being hilarious. Well, I tried my best. The autarch and the dragon god both laughed. It was pleasant to spend time together. Bonding over conversations like this. It's great to spend time like this with her loved one. Especially for the dragon god. Why would she long for icy, lonely silence when there is something so much better, like the warmth of friendship and love? At the time, Ophis believed it was her responsibility to isolate herself from the outside world and rid herself of such insignificant thoughts and feelings by floating around doing nothing while surrounded by said power in her home. However, she once more realized that nothing positive could emerge from the voids of nothingness. After meeting her family, she dismissed the strange feelings that filled her heart during her first family activity, but they gradually grew stronger each time they spent time together, as if they were filling the void in her heart with something. Ophis dismissed the feelings once more, but he was determined to discover the true meaning of them, but it was too late. Vasari, as much as I like to stay here settling on Helgen, I'm afraid I can't stay here any longer. I'm going to leave Helgen tomorrow at noon. When Ophis spoke, Vasari was shocked beyond belief. What? Why? I thought you said that Helgen is like your second home. What's with the sudden change of mind? Ophis shut her eyes and said, it is Vasari, it is, but she was aware that he would say that since she had given them a new home and the people of Helgest had even praised her like a god, which she is, she didn't think she was worthy of a god after the apocalypse. God doesn't make sins, Vasari, Ophis said as she opened her eyes. I made a lot of sins, Ophis began, shocking the autarch. Helping your people is just small thing I obliged to do while there's something bigger out there waiting for my help, or to simply travel to reflect my past mistakes. Vasari said, you may go. Ophis was utterly perplexed by Vasari's statement. So that's why I asked you to. Wait, you let me go? Easily like that? No pleading, reasons, or speeches? The autarch exclaimed, Ophis, did you ever heard the word, eyes is the window of your soul? Yes, I heard that quite often. When you explained your reasons, I saw the look on your eyes. I can't describe it, but that was the eyes of someone who had to pay high and unnecessary prices for the something he or she did, and now full of regret and sorrow. I don't know what you did that put so much burden for you, and I believe you don't want to talk about it, yes? Vasari nodded. With a noble voice, Vasari stated, so that's why I don't want to hold you or force you to stay. If anything, I should let you go. Ophis gave her a weak grin. Era, am I really easy to read now? But thank you, Vasari. I swear that I will visit this world someday in the future, and I would like to see how Helgen going to be. You're welcome, my friend. After what you did to Helgen, we, Helgest people, will always welcome you to our home, replied the autarch. But can I ask a request? What is it? Come with me to the festival and allow me to announce to my people about your departure. Many of them considered you as an important figure in Helgen Empire. If you leave without noticing us, there will be a lot of commotion knowing their savior is gone without trace, asked the autarch. Oh, of course, it would be improper for me if I just leave you like that. I would never do that. Just let me grab my bottle of Constantine wine and I'll join you. After a few minutes, the autarch of Helgen and the dragon god joined their people in celebrating. Today, 12 years later, in 2369, to say that Ophis is shocked would be an understatement of millennia. What in the fucking hell is going on? Ophis anticipated the magnificent city of Pyrrhus, which she had seen 12 years prior, complete with skyscrapers, blue skies, and a bustling train and automobile traffic. Not Pyrrhus with dusty skies, destroyed structures. Lifeforms based on petricite that are searching the ruins. The ruins and the skies are covered in aurora like petricite mists. Petricite is a potent element that is unique to Helgen and serves as the primary power source for everything from Helgen space cruiser fuel to basic electrical appliances. Ophis and Regret were able to contain the petricite hazard site in 2349, making it less hazardous and environmentally friendly, but Ophus's perspective, isn't the natural color of petricite supposed to be blue rather than green? I pondered. I believed that the Helgast had terraformed the rest of this planet on their own. When I looked through the gateway, I only terraformed about 85% of the planet's surface when I terraformed it. The remaining portion is merely a dangerous area intended to contain the petricite. I therefore assumed that the Helgast were engaged in terraforming. When I noticed the green mist enveloping a portion of Helgen, I assumed they would pick up where I left off because of this, but apparently I was mistaken. I am quite knowledgeable about the composition of petricite, but this is obviously something new. I was certain that petricites are blue and behave similarly to Tesla reactors, but they are 10 times more effective and efficient than their Tesla counterparts. However, this is regret. Suffer. Scout the area, search for any survivors, help them any way you can, and give them protection from this green petricite. I've got a bad vibe coming from this substances. Yes, master, they said, obeying my command, and both of my servants used their blinking powers to disappear from my view. I notice a pool of these green substances as I survey the ruins. I must admit that I'm a little curious about how petricite looks like this, but I don't have time to study this novel kind of petricite right now. I approach the pool, kneel next to it, remove my right leather glove, and wrap my right hand in bluish-black aura before dipping it in. I was right, this is petricite, but what about the other composition? I'm shocked to learn this as I exert more effort. No, it can't be. I saw two materials inside this new petricite. They're somewhat faint, but I know they're some sort of chemical material that has merged with it. Who? I can clearly see what kind of substance it is as I channel more energy into my hand. Who had the audacity to? Uranium-235 and plutonium-239. Who in hell would drop a thermonuclear bomb on Pyrrhus, my darling? With regret we swiftly blinked away. As soon as the master gave us the order to look for any survivors of this Holocaust, I went to a section called Vasari Square, or what's left of it. As I jumped and blinked around, I couldn't help but wonder. What might have led to this? Definitely a war. I'm willing to wager that either the Helgen Empire initiated a war or those idiots in ESA and UCN declared one. No, I stopped myself in front of a restaurant and shook my head because, in contrast to many other buildings, this one is still standing. Curious, I walk into the building and am immediately met with something that makes me disgusted by people. A pile of dead civilians and two soldiers, ranging in age from adults to children who appeared no older than 8, are lying in front of me. I can easily distinguish the human bodies from the human ones by their bald heads and ACUs. This is not the work of the Helgast. I made the decision to take some photos of this location until I stumbled upon something. A dead soldier's body with an ACU design. I knelt before it and discovered something that doubled my hatred for people. Alongside Suffer, I had the same expectations as my master when I came into this world. But instead we were met with a scene from World War II aftermath films, but with additional radiation from an unidentified substance. I'm currently in the center of a large field filled with craters and demolished war machines. Oh no, why were they bothering to fight wars when they knew there was nothing positive to come from them? Is it because of the natural resources crisis? Is it because it's man-nature to show who is the better fighter? Or is it because of jealousy? Sometimes war can be started by something so trivial like insults. During the 8 years I followed my master, I once saw a tribe fall to another tribe in a bloody civil war. The cause? One of the fallen tribe villager insult the other tribe's leader. How foolish, but I've never saw a war as destructive as this. I'm familiar with the loss of kingdom, territorial conflict, corporate wars, but this, I lost words to describe it. I never like wars, never, but should a war happen it had better be with a good reason, not some stupid reason. Oh, who am I kidding? There's no war started with a good reason, and we're talking about humans who love to fight over something. What do you expect? World peace. For centuries humans always love fighting. Either it's in medieval time crusade to future galactic war like this, accompanied with dark reasons behind it. One nation, tribe, planet suffer from the horror of the war while the other reap the fortune of it. Heck, I once went into a world where war is an economic activities. How many lives is lost for a simple supply like food, water, and clothes? Ironically, said supplies were used to supply either side troops so they can fight again and again and again. They disgust me to no end, which made me glad and grateful I'm no longer human. After several hours Ophus's perspective, to be honest, I'm scared. I'm scared of my precious people who lives here. I've been looking around Pyrrhus only to discover that many important building where my friends live or work has been destroyed. All of them. The palace of Vasari Redek Academy. Vasari Corporation Stahl Arms. Heck, I even took a flight to Constantine City only to find out the city suffer the same fate as Pyrrhus. All of them reduced to rubble, and despite my servants and my own efforts we found no survivors, only dead bodies brought by regret. Right now I'm observing my servants lining up several dead bodies in the middle of a clearing in Corinth Highway. Is this all of them? I asked Regret as he finished lining up the corpses. Yes, master, I noticed there's something bothering him as I can hear his anger in his voice. Is there something bothering you, Regret? Nothing, master, nothing, he said, but judging how he replied my question and looked away from me only make my suspicion grew bigger. Regret, I know there's something bothering you, can share it with me and discuss it. He only stand there in silence before answering, sorry master, but I want to keep it for myself this time, he said with a sigh. I'll discuss it with you when the time is right. Now I'm 100% sure there's something bothering him. Fine then, but right now I'll drop it as I focus myself on the dead bodies. Who could have done this? In the event of a war, aren't Stockholm Treaty prohibited anyone to kill innocent civilians? I shook my head and sighed. Alright then, I guess I'm going to seal the DBs before we... I cut myself off as I'm picking some sound nearby, something like rapid footsteps, like running soldiers. Master, you noticed it? Yes, suffer, I do. What would like us to do, master? Asked Regret. From what I've heard it seems they already spotted us. We'll play along. As soon as I said that, 24 men with glowing red eyes from their mask while wearing hazmat suits come into view, converging on our location armed with their Sta 52 bullpup assault rifles, Sta 11 SMG and Santa 3 Stova LMG. They obviously spotted us as we're standing in the middle of a ruined Corinth highway with many dead bodies of the fallen Helgast. Freeze! One of them said with a gruff muffled voice. Put your hands in the air. 12 of them quickly surround us, pointing their weapons at us while the other guard the perimeter. I said put your hands in the air. The same soldier shouted, it seems he's the leader of this group. I comply at his order as I gesture my servants to do the same. On the ground now. Again I comply his order, seeing no reason to fight them. Bravo 2 and 3 secure the masked male, 4 and 5 secure the hooded one. I keep my calm facade as his men restrain and forced us to kneel on the ground while keep pointing their weapon at us. Then I see the leader of this group pull something from his bag, a hollow scanner. I see, they knew who I am, they just want to make sure they found the right guy. Woman, I keep my face straight as hold the scanner right in front of my face. I can hear some beeping as he starts scanning my face looking for matching identity in their database. The beeping stop. It seems the scan is complete. As he move away from me I can tell that he somewhat felt relief, judging from how he loosened his grip on his rifle. Thank the grace, men, we found the VIP. Lower your weapons and release them. The soldiers that surround us lower their weapon and also look relief. Sorry for the inconvenient, Lady Hyodo Gremory, we're just been through war and need to be cautious all the time, he said with a bow as the soldiers release their restraint on my servants and I. The soldiers help us to get up. How gentle. It's all right, soldier. And please call me Ophis and thank you. I wave my hand trying to ask his name. Second Lieutenant Alvis Fitzgerald at your service, milady, he introduced. Right, thank you, Lieutenant Fitzgerald. It's our pleasure, milady. Now, would you please follow us? We were instructed by our acting leader to bring you and your companions to the underground shelter, the lieutenant requested. Wait, how do you know I'm arrived at this place? I'm sorry, milady, I do not know. All of your question will be answered by our acting leader later. Our mission to get you to the shelter. Who is the acting leader? Acting leader usually elect if the actual leader is either absent, sick or... No, it can't be. No, don't you dare think about it, Ophis. Be optimist. Just give me a few minutes and I'm ready. I tell the leader. I move toward the lines of the dead bodies. I gather my magic in my fingertips and start to draw a small magic circle with it. Third-person paw of many of the Helgast soldiers curious at whatever Ophis is doing. She seems to gently drawing something in the air with her finger hole, leaving blue trails. Said trails seems to shaped into circle with unknown letters. Lieutenant, one of the Helgast soldier whispered. What is she doing? I don't know, Sergeant. This is a first for me too. The lieutenant whispered back. Their chattering were cut off short as the magic circle drew by Ophis suddenly glow brightly before flying into the middle of the lined up dead bodies and latch itself on the ground. The soldiers noticed Ophis and the masked figure's companion back away. You might want to back away to soldier, the hooded female servant told the Helgast soldiers. Seeing no ill intent from the masked servant, the soldier do as told and back away and took position behind Ophis. Then they see something that amazed all of them. The circle suddenly expand itself several times its original size and start to glow brightly, so bright that made the Helgasts to cover their eyes. When glow started to fade, everyone in the vicinity can see the magic circle now covered the line-up dead bodies. Milady, what are you? The lieutenant's words died in his mouth as he and his forces saw the event transpired in front of them. The dead bodies were covered with a blue aura before slowly dissolve into particles of light moving toward the center of the magic circle, forming an orb of blue light. When all of the light gather at the orb, the circle began to spin it faster and faster before shrinking toward the orb. The orb then started to glow brightly once more and morph into a smaller rectangular form as Ophis, her servants, and the Helgast watch as the light dies down. The Helgast was left speechless from the in front of them. The lined-up dead bodies were gone, replaced by a floating deck card-sized black card with a Reaper wielding a scythe and a stylized, unrest, word written below the Reaper. Ophis walked forward to grab the card with her hand and hold it gently while staring at the card sadly. "Don't worry, children of Helgen, until I found a suitable place for bury your bodies. You will be safe inside this card," she thought as she stretched her hand and let card float before dissolve into particle of light. Ophis faced back to her servant and the lined-up Helgast. While her servant looks normal, she can tell that many of the Helgast are either baffled or shocked with the event just transpired in front of them. "Milady." The lieutenant tried to speak up but stopped by a raised index finger courtesy of Ophis. "Before you ask, no, I didn't do anything to desecrate your fellow countrymen. I only sealed them inside a stasis dimension. I will unseal them until I find a suitable place to bury the bodies," Ophis said with a stern voice. "Now would you kindly direct me to your shelter, Lieutenant Fitzgerald?" Yeah, please come with us, milady." Wasting no time, Ophis, her servants, and the Helgast walk away from the ruins of Corinth Highway and proceed for their next destination. An hour later, the shelter, somewhere in the outskirts of Pyrrhus. Ophis's perspective, the trip to the shelter was uneventful save from one female Helgast soldier asking for my autograph. "Really? You're on duty, for goodness sake. You can't just rush to me and asking for autograph ignoring your duty. And where did you get that paper and pen when you're practically wearing hazmat suit? Putting that matter aside, right now we're just disembarked from Helgast tracked APC. It was strange though why they would use this obsolete APC. If I remember correctly, the Helgast developed a new, versatile, and faster hover APCs to replace the tracked APCs, so why they didn't use it. Please follow me to sanitation room, milady, and that includes your servants," the lieutenant requested. "We need to make sure you're clear from petricite radiation." "We're fine, Lieutenant. We shield ourselves from the radiation. It's true though, the moment we're about to enter this world, me and my servants already detected radioactive readings and issued my servants to cover themselves with magic barrier, preventing themselves from getting exposé from the radioactive exposure from the irradiated petricite." "Yes, irradiated petricite. I asked about the green substance to the soldiers inside the APCs. They quickly give me the answer. It turns out the petricite stored beneath the city of Pyrrhus were exposed to the nuclear bomb, causing a chemical reaction from the petricite and changed them into this new type of petricite." "I'm sorry, milady. It's the standard protocol. Even if you claim you're being protected by your magic, we can't risk it. Please understand this," the lieutenant rebutted. I sighed. I usually do something like Irina Nasan would do, mainly complaining about why they won't believe me, but the situation didn't let me, so I just play along with the rules. "All right, then lead the way." Ophis's perspective. "How come you didn't get poisoned? You were strolling around the ruins of Pyrrhus, which is considered as an area with the highest level of radiation. How can you be fine?" asked the lieutenant in disbelief. He and his team, now wearing standard Helgast Assault Infantry ACU, we are now walking toward the office of the current acting leader. With me and my servants were escorted by the lieutenant and 6 of the soldier through the underground shelter corridor. "I told you, Lieutenant, I and my servant covered ourselves with magic barrier. It prevents us from getting exposed from radiation. Unlike you most likely think, the magic barrier we deployed is just like a suit, and I mean really like a suit. It envelops our bodies from head to toes along with our clothes, as opposed to normal spherical magic or magic circle barrier, hence why we didn't get caught by the radiation." "But still, how you do that? I know you transformed Helgen to Third Earth, which is a great feat, but I still can't believe how you didn't covered." I sighed at the lieutenant rambling before I cut him off. "Lieutenant Fitzgerald," I spoke with a stern voice. At the same time I stopped walking while rubbing my head. The other soldier, my servants, also stopped themselves while the lieutenant seems to tensed. "May I remind you that you're now on duty to escort me to your leader? While I don't mind a company from my beloved people of Helgen, I expect some discipline from you to keep some talk in line. Is that clear?" I reminded the lieutenant. I know this is a bit cold, but this magic talk is not really related to his mission. I can tell he's a bit down from his body language. "I'm sorry, milady," he slumped down. "It won't happen again, I promise." "I do not dislike your attitude, Lieutenant. Like I said, I don't mind a company from my beloved Helgen citizens, and that includes soldier of Helgen. I'm just reminding you that not everyone will like an attitude like that, especially during the mission. Understand?" I continued at the lieutenant being seen, which he replied with a nod. I noticed something from him. Unlike many high-ranking Helgast officer I've met, who always stood strong with their opinion even when they're wrong and hard-headed. The one in front of me is rather, I don't know, meek. Then something crossed in my mind. You're new in military, aren't you? Those words alone already show what he is as his shoulders slumped down again. Yes, I just graduated from Radek Academy Officer School 7 weeks ago. This is actually my first mission. Great, I just criticized a green officer for any possibility he can be a civilian not familiar with military life trying to serve his country, or an officer who is a top of his class always be praised never once get criticized. It's most likely the latter, seeing he has a good attitude on the field. Added the fact that I used magic to terraform their home, it's not impossible for many people of Helgen to see me like I'm some sort of god, and me, scolding him, is like a god delivering a divine punishment and berate himself for becoming unworthy in my eyes. Then he did something that made the surrounding Helgast, including me and servants, shell-shocked. He turned around, grovel on my feet. Milady, please, I'm sorry if I bothered you in such way. Please forgive this insolent low life. See what I mean? I rub my face in exasperation and sigh at the groveling lieutenant. See, this is one of the many reasons why I don't like being seen or called as a god. Rise, Alvis Fitzgerald, I said as I kneel in front of him as he lifted himself, facing his mask to my face. You didn't do anything wrong. I just remind you about your mission. Okay? I tried to tell him with a soft tone. I'm not angry nor disappointed at you. Is that understand? You're not unworthy in my eyes. Back in the ruins you showed a good leadership worthy of my attention. Again I tried to speak with soft tone, but this time I tried to add a more godlike speech which raised his spirit back, and I don't know what gotten into me, but I decided to grab his masked face and kiss his helmet, which again raised his spirit 2 folds. Now would you please escort me to your leader and to finish your mission? I asked with a smile as both me and the young officer stand up. Yes. Thank you, milady. Now please follow me, he answered with full of spirit and started leading the team again. What was that? I just felt something strange sensation coming from him. Well, I can find out later. Now I'm just glad that was over. I just hope this godhood thing will not be a common occurrence. I just tempt fate, didn't I? Underground shelter. Refugees area. Ophus's perspective. Hey, look who's arrived down there. I can't believe it. Is it really her? She's here? Our savior is here? 10 years. 10 years. Our prayers were answered. Well, crap, fate. Whatever form you may take, either a 3 siblings, a machine, cell phones, etc., I will find you and I will crush you with my bare hands, get you wrecked so bad till your creator forces to create another fate. I don't dislike being called a god, really, but it's bothering me to no end every time they call me as if I'm the creator of this universe. I am a god, but after failing certain tasks from my own world I doubt myself worthy to take that title anymore. Right now, I'm just a traveling lonely dragon seeking redemption. Sigh. I sighed again for umpteenth time today. Right now we are navigating through the underground complex while being watched by bystanders. Many of them were civilians, along with several military personnel guarding the gate and patrolling along the catwalk above us. The complex were completely filled with civilians and military personnel alike, taking refuge from the wasteland above them. Many of them look sick and kinda look malnourished. Milady. Milady. I heard someone rushing toward me. I stop walking and look to my right and see a bald woman trying to reach me, but were stopped by 2 of my escort. Let me go. Let me go. I need to speak with her. Be quiet, woman. We have another pressing matter right now. I know you're in pain, we all do. But please understand, our lady need to consult with the leader right now. Be patient. I watched the woman as she struggled to break free from my escort trying to reach me. Milady, I know it's hard, but let's move before it getting worse, the lieutenant pled me. Master, just like the lieutenant said, we need to move before more civilians surrounding us, Suffer told me. I only nod in response while keeping my face down. Let's get going then. We started to move again while 2 of the escorts separate themselves from the group holding the woman down. Several minutes later. Here we are, milady. The lieutenant gestured at the sliding door in front of us. Our leader is waiting inside. Thank you, Lieutenant Fitzgerald, and good job for your first assignment. I thanked him with a smile. Thanks milady. I'm sorry about earlier, but I cut him off. No problem. Like I said before, I'm not angry with you. It was also your first assignment, so take notes of what mistakes you have made and ensure you didn't repeat that in the future. Got it? Thank you, milady. Now if would excuse me, I still had my job to do, he said. I bet that under his intimidating gas mask he's smiling gratefully. You're welcome. Sending a bow to me, he and his subordinate walk away, leaving me and my servants in front of the room. Well, let's find out what's going on. The door in front of us slid open, allowing my group to enter the leader's room. The room is not very decorative, only steel like wall 4 bookshelf with various books arranged neatly at the far end of the wall, and in the middle of the room are a single desk table with a lamp and a holographic computer, and behind the desk is a man with white-haired and thin body wearing a suit and gloves. He covered his face with both of his hands. "Go away, I had enough. Complain report right now, Sergeant," he said while keeping both of his hands on his face. Wow, looks like whatever happened here caused him to enter a depressed state. "I thought you sent your men to bring me to talk to you." Not expecting a feminine response, he lifted his face, revealing his wrinkles to us. He also looks like in his 60s. His eyes widened and mouth agape when he saw my face. "Not to dump me immediately after I arrived, Jorhan," I said with smirk. "This man is also one of many friends I made in Helgen. Jorhan Brimbe Stahl, son of Cage Stahl, the founder of Stahl Arms, a man who responsible for supplying Helgen army with weapons." He raised from his chair in a hurry and walked to me in a hurry before stop in front of me and proceed to inspect me from head to toe. "Ophis, is this really you? I'm not dreaming, right?" "In the flesh, Stahl, you're back," he exclaimed. To my surprise, he hugged me and, is he crying? "You're really back. You don't know how this foolish war has taken its toll on me." I blinked before I returned the hug and pat his back. There, I'm here, my friend. Take your time before you talk, okay?" I didn't get any vocal response from him, but a nod on my neck is the answer I need. The same strange sensation, appearing again? XXL gasped Ophis's perspective. "Sorry about the accommodation. We've stripped out of luxury 6 weeks ago and I got nothing to serve you other than mineral water," he said as put down 4 small bottles of mineral water on his table. "It's no problem, Jorhan," I replied. I took 3 bottles and distributed to my servants, which they take it. I'm not into luxury anyway. "I see, so I take it you have a lot of questions, right?" "Yes. First, how do you know I'm coming? And the second is, what the hell is going on? I know you just got through a war, as your lieutenant told me, but I want to know more, especially what caused the appearance of new petrosite sub-element and why it had radioactive chemical components." I asked him, leaving my first shocking conclusion about the nuclear bomb. I need to hear it from him. "For the first question, it's not that hard. I mean, before you arrived on Helgen over 2 decades ago, we detected strange space-time continuum disturbance on our radar. The same can be found when you leave Helgen to continue your journey," Jorhan explained. "So when the same disturbance occurred, I quickly ordered my men to fetch you." "I see. What about the rest?" I asked. "This will be a long story." He take a deep breath before you start talking. "I'm not going to sugarcoat this. 6 months ago, under the order of UCN, Issa dropped a nuke on top of Firis in order to cut down our morale." I narrowed my eyes at his blunt statement. "You're not making this up, aren't you? Why would they do that? I know that UCN is just an organization filled with greedy fat slobs and they're Issa lapdog, but they won't do something stupid like declaring a war, not to mention ordered a nuclear strike. They rather sit back and relax, with money keep flowing into their pocket. I know this for a fact. Ever since I'm in Helgen 20 years ago, those fat slobs rather live peacefully in warm bed while not giving any shit about my suffering people." He grimaced from my questioning. "Look, I may be not one of your favorite person, Ophis, but I would never hurt or lie you," he rebutted. "Since you were the one that ensure my father health to see me taking his throne of our company and so on, I never felt so grateful in my life, and I wish to repay you for what you have done. Not spit at your help," he reasoned with me. He's not lying, master. His eyes clearly shows it. My hooded servant aided his argument. "It's not like I can't do it myself, but I give this task to my servants to detect any kind of lies coming from spokesperson should we need to negotiate something." "I see. Sorry, Jorhan. War is not my thing. So, what caused this war?" If I were to quote those fools at the UCN, they want retribution for years of exploitation. How they concluded this? Simple. Back in 2357, a week after you left, our scientists managed to create an energy purifier. These purifier convert the petrosite into its purest form, increase the effectiveness and the efficiency of petrosite by triple. He smiled, reminiscing. With the discovery of this new type of petrosite, we finally managed to find not only a more suitable fuel for our warp drive coil, we also applied it for daily need. Due to the magnanimous amount of petrosite and completion of warp drive, we enacted our own colonialization plan and started to colonize our moon and nearby planets and open a trade with ICSA. It was fruitful and our people were prospering even more. ICSA? Independent Colonial Strategic Alliance? Isn't that unaligned version of ISA created to support independent colonies? Then I saw him tapping the screen on his holographic computer, revealing 4 planets with Helga's triad spread on certain part of the planet. This is the planets that we colonized. Either it's still barren or already colonized by several members of ICSA, and with our arrival as per trade agreement, we share them our purified petrosite, and thanks to it we have a fruitful relationship between the ICSA and the Helgan Empire. However, our fruitful relationship with the member of ICSA attract more trade agreement than we can take and made us repeating what our ancestor does in the past, overflowing with wealth. While it improved further our living condition, it also attract unwanted attention from ISA and UCN. They took notice of our new type of petricite and took part in the trade, but giving us a lot of unfair agreement. The talk failed as the autarch declined the agreement, Stahl said with venom in his voice. They already embargoed the Helgast and gave them unfair trade agreement, and when Helgast found new type of petricite, they took part with the same old agreement. I'm starting to sense a pattern here. Jorhan tapped his computer again, now showing the images of autarch in news headline and an image of a dead ISA's shadow marshal? I asked. Yes, he answered. Not taking in a good way on our refusal, they sent a team of shadow marshals tried to steal our purified petricite and the blueprint of the purifier. Keyword. Tried. Colonel Radek and Kobar found out about this and killed all of them and retrieved an order from ISA command which we used to threaten them with war for this dreadful act despite their denial. The order which were supposed to be destroyed before the mission start were retrieved from the dead operative complete with the signature of ISA current leader. Putting them into a bad position added the fact that the act were broadcasted through UCBN, he continued. Not in the position to argue, the ISA decided to answer to our demand. Our demand were simple. Stay away from our business and we're good. The ISA and UCN reluctantly agreed to our term. Again, Jorhan tapped his computer again and the images changed once again. 2 years later, however, our economy reached its peak just like our ancestor did in the past, and the other colonies seems prefer doing business with us rather than the ISA or UCN. Even some of them went so far declaring they're part of the empire. In this age we reap the fortune from the fruitful trade with other colonies. Again like our ancestor, he said while smiling, but that smile quickly replaced with a frown. UCN suffered economic crisis once more, since some of the important colonies liberated themselves from UCN control. The UCN started to lose their money factories. Many of the important corporations like shipbuilder, energy, etc. cut their contract with them and went to Helgen. They're getting desperate. Again, Regret commented. I see. Jorhan scowled as the images change again. Not wanting to lose more than they can take, the UCN demanded us to return the companies and colonies that defected to us. We proposed a talk with the UCN along with the colonies and the companies who defected to settle this matter peacefully. Let me guess, the talk failed. Again, Suffer commented. Well, what do you expected? Successful talk with us must pay 65% taxes or we defend the way it is, Johan hissed. Well, who want to pay 65% taxes? Not even I want to pay that much to greed men like them. I would rather completely decline their demands and defend what rightfully belongs to me. 2 days after the talk, the UCN declared war on us. The UCN declared war on US. He repeated, stressing on each word. Like I said earlier, the UCN claiming the war is for retribution for years of exploitation. They accused to plan this for over 100 years back when our ancestors arrived on the wasteland of Helgen and gathering the people before we strike, claiming our original home of Vecta. And the war begin. Suffer muttered. We knew this is inevitable, so right after the declaration we quickly armed our military for any attack from the UCN, ISA, and we forced to cut our ties with ICSA and other corporation. I saw him sigh before continuing. The images changes again to a pictures of space cruisers trading missile barrage at each other with several destroyed cruisers, ISA, UCN and Helgen Empire alike. Like any war, this one was also devastating. We called it the Second Extrasolar War or so due to the fact UCN, ISA, Helgen and other colonies that pledged themselves to either faction, also involved in this war. I saw him gulping some of his water before continuing. Sorry, I'm thirsty. It's all right, I kindly replied. Anyway, the war lasted for 10 years, with either side took heavy casualties. The war was in a state of stalemate for 8 years since none of either side can push their forces forward. Cruisers from Helgen and UCN, ISA destroyed alike. Our cruiser outfitted with warp coil and arc cannon can perform a hit-and-run tactics almost perfectly and at the same time dishing out a Zeus-like attack, while UCN and ISA cruisers were built like a fortress, artillery pieces capable for taking heavy punishment and long-range assault. His face now sporting a small smile. But, despite the stalemate state, we were winning this war. Every encounter with the UCN, ISA always ends up with them suffering the most while we suffered the least, all thanks to hidden tactics, the warp coil, and the arc cannons. That and the fact my latest designed cruiser approved by the autarch has been a great aid for the military. You must be very happy, Mr. Stahl, Suffer praised. Well, there's nothing made an inventor proud except to see her invention approved and used by many people. He chuckled. My cruiser design are capable to carry and launch a smaller craft called Strike Fighter. an exo-atmospheric fighter designed to perform dogfighter bombing. These fighter also responsible for harassing and destroying some of their cruisers, which is lacking these kind of spacecraft. And now his smile morphed into a frown, but again, that made the UCN, ISA frustrated over the casualties of their forces, and seeing that we managed to defeated 2/3 of their forces, they started to do something that anyone, including Vasari, never expected. Nuke. I heard regret growl behind me. I can tell that he's angry by his voice alone. Yes, during the 9th and 10th year of so they started bombing our colonies and eventually Helgen itself with it. His voice is hoarse and putting both of his palms on his face. How could they allow this to happen? They're the one who created the Stockholm Treaty, and Regret tried to ask only to be answered with a raging stall slamming his table. Don't talk to me about those fucking treaty. He roared at us. His face now show a pure anger. Those fucker back on Earth revoked those treaties so they can allow themselves to discriminately bomb our civilizations with nukes and giving them freedom to execute any innocent Helgast CIVILLIANS. What? And most of our casualties is on the CIVILLIANS side. 1 billions. 1 fucking billions lives lost. What? And you know what, Mr. Regret? They once agreed for a peace treaty because said they tired for this unnecessary bloodshed. At first we agreed since we also lose many of our forces during the course of so. The Autarch, Senates, Admiral Orlok, General Metrak, Colonel Kobar, Colonel Radek, and I attended that event with our own fleets only to find out that was a setup to kill US all. They ambushed US with a fleet that tripled the size of our fleet and start firing at US with missiles and laser cannons. He screamed again. What? Is this real? I tried not to show how shocked I was by the new experience or basic resources, the only reason why human authorities in this world have descended to such a low level. Even though I can feel my anger building, I suppress it. Jorhan inhaled deeply as he composed himself. We managed to escape though, he continued after he had calmed down enough. That's a good thing, I thought, but I knew I shouldn't jump to that conclusion. The phrase, but not with heavy losses, is used. Significant losses are all I need to ruin my day. He paused to gather his courage before telling me, we lost half of our ships including Metrak's ship and his right-hand man Kobar, the Senate's ships, and cruiser Hope. No, I understand their strategy. They intended to entice all of the Helgast leaders to a single location where they would be killed in order to lower the morale of the Helgast people or, worse, impair their ability to fight. Then there was Kobar and Metrak. Kobar praised me like Irina Naysan praying to God, minus the odd gesture she always makes. Those two, despite being the most controversial military officers, were actually two of my students who were willing to change their opinions about the military and held my name in high regard. I sense my anger returning, but I suppress it once more. The pair is similar to Toussaint's criminal partners Motohama and Matsuda, but instead of a certain subject, they are military discipline freaks. I collected my thoughts and returned my attention to Jorhan. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, I just hope God or whoever will forgive them, if God want to show us mercy, he believed. I don't know or want to know about that in a world like this. Religions are practically non-existent. Though some people still celebrate religious holidays like Christmas in Vecta, however, I have never seen anyone pray in a church. It seems like the religious event is merely an annual celebration. Perhaps they lost faith in God following World War III. So what happened next? We fight strong and hard, but eventually we start losing badly. This picture is some of our failure in defending Firas and among other things, Jorhan said, running his hand through his hair. And after that they send their forces to capture Vasari, but the result is unexpected. At that, unexpected, I arched an eyebrow. He hesitantly grabbed a holographic file and glanced at both my face and the file. Before I show you, please don't do anything rash, he begged, before removing the file, extending it with his finger, and tapping it to reveal. I can no longer contain my rage as I see a dead image of Vasari lying down in the middle of his sanctum, just above the Helgast Triad logo. No, 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 no. This can't be happening. It's happening, and there's nothing we can do about it. What about Radek that we're supposed to protect him? Jorhan hesitated once more, but he took another photo, showing Radek dead in his intensive care unit, with a bullet wound to his head and a bullet in his gut. I stare at the picture of a dead Radek in front of me in shock. How could this happen? Instead of responding, he touched the image, and it began to play. Oh, that's a video clip. Stahl apologized. Sorry, no audio. We didn't install audio recorder on it, but I'm too preoccupied with identifying the fortunate jerk who killed Radek. The video shows Radek organizing his forces against two soldiers inside Vasari's palace hall. As the two soldiers broke through Radek's platoon, I watched patiently as Radek's forces gradually diminished. Why is he losing? And why, despite having superior weapons, they were defeated by two soldiers brandishing assault rifles and machine guns? I saw how a soldier with spike hair repeatedly shot Radek before he fell. However, he is still alive. He draws his sidearm and aims it at the soldiers, but before he can take any action, the other soldier, who has a clean-shaven cut, kicks his weapon aside and hammers him with his MG stock. He then draws his own sidearm, unloads a bullet into his head, and spits on his mask. When the two soldiers left him lying on the ground, dead, the video ceased. Motherfucker. How could you do that? What happened to Vasari? I growled to myself. Stahl complied with my request and began playing the video, saying, "You can hear their conversation because the CCTV on the sanctum is equipped with audio recording." I told him, "Save your comment, Jorhan. I need to know what happened to him, so start playing the damn footage," and he obeyed without hesitation. Playback XXX. Third point of view. Through the window of the sanctum, we could see Vasari, the autarch of the Helgan Empire, placing his hands behind him as he observed the devastated Pyrrhus. What went wrong? Why is this taking place? Why must another war follow the freedom they just regained 12 years ago? The greed of the people of Earth and Vecta led to the start of another stupid war. Why must they be the ones who endured such harsh criticism for standing up for what was rightfully theirs? Vasari was upset that the Issa reduced the city, which had been built with blood and sweat, to rubble in an instant. He promised his people that he would defeat the Issa invasion and that the city would remain strong while the conflict continued. However, he fails them. He is now compelled to witness the disaster in the form of a dense mushroom cloud explosion beneath the city because he failed to keep his word to his people. Behind him, he heard someone say, "Skolar Vasari." It appears that Radek has also fallen. "Skolar Vasari, I'm placing you under arrest under Article 27. With a loud, noble voice, the autarch asked, "And who are you, soldier?" "Sevchenko, Sergeant First Class," is the kind response from his captor. Turning around, Vasari faces his captors. Two Issa soldiers were pointing their weapons at him, as he could see one soldier brandishing an M82 assault rifle stood out due to his spiked hairstyle. The other is an M224 LMG wielding, muscular soldier with a shaved head. A sergeant? They sent a sergeant to take Vasari? Are your commanders are also afraid? The autarch laughed. "War's over, Vasari, you lost," is what he said, and based on his voice, Vasari knows that this is the person who gave Sevchenko his name. As he passed the two soldiers with their weapons at the ready, he jeered once more, "Really, Sergeant, and who won? The greedy hypocritical cowards who commanded you and your comrades here to die in a foolish you started? The Helgast have lost nothing. We fight for who we are, and we fight to protect our new way of life and new home away from your superiors' greed. We wear our wounds like a badge of honor. The Helgan is ours, and we will die before let it fall to plunderers." He stopped in front of an inscription on the wall. "That is why your leaders dare not making martyrs of me. Your fleets burned, your friends butchered, and you become a hero for saving my life? Does that sound like a victory to you, Sergeant Sevchenko?" The autarch mocked once more as he turned around and walked directly towards his captor. The soldier with LMG cursed, "Son of a bitch," and was about to hammer the autarch when his friend intervened. "Good men have died, and I'll see you rot in hell for it. You'll pay for you've done. For giving my people pride, purpose? We have built this great nation from nothing, and the God graces us with her presence and allowed us to live in this third earth," the autarch said as she turned around again to display the paintings on the wall. The LMG-wielding soldier sneered, "You're a psychotic son of a bitch god. I would never support crazy people like you. And how do you think we transformed our beloved Helgan? Terraformers. Do you ever wonder why our report about changes on Helgan is always filled with God words? And did you really think God would side with an organization who justified nuclear bombing that killed thousands of good men? They have family that waiting for them to go home, and you wipe them out like cockroaches, yet you called that as a legitimate strategy," the autarch retorted vehemently. While since all of that was true, they were unable to or did not respond to the autarch question. Then the autarch approached his captor, saying, "Take me and Helgan will dissolve into chaos. The Issa war machines powerless against the sheer will of my people. We will choke the streets with our dead before we surrender. Your pathetic master will beg me to return order." Vasari confronted Sevchenko, saying, "You have not won. You will never." Rat-a-tat-tat. The soldier with the machine gun fired a few bullets into the autarch's abdomen as soon as he yelled, "Guh! Rico." No, just in the center of the Helgast triad symbol, the autarch falls to the ground, his arms falling to his sides in the same direction as the upper arrow. The soldier, now known as Rico, gave the autarch a disdainful glance before changing into a person of regret. Vasari managed to utter the words, "Madness, and the madness begin, as he looked at his killer and stared into Rico's eyes with lifeless eyes. And the world will know, you are the one who disturbed the sleeping dragon, he said, taking his final breath. End of playback. XXX Stahl's perspective. Ophis was clenching her fists so tightly at the end of the video that I could see blood dripping from them. She snarled, "That son of a bitch." That was meant to be a straightforward capture mission on their part, but that idiot couldn't control his emotions, so he decided to kill him rather than capture him. She and Vasari were close friends, so even though I made a huge mistake by showing her the video, I couldn't stop telling her. She wants me to tell her everything I know about the war, even though I know it is difficult for her. And I gladly complied. I beg her because I already anticipate that she will act rashly. However, that doesn't mean she won't act hastily. She yelled, "RRAARRRGGHHHHH," and hurried over to the sliding door. Clonk. Was that a steel door she just punched through? A reinforced steel sliding door that is 14 inches thick? And she simply punched it through butter like a hot knife? In 2350, I heard a rumor that she could lift a crate full of heavy weapons with 2 fingers and that she used a giant sword to defeat Radek and Kobar, who used Santa 3 LMGs in a 2-on-1 duel. However, this is Clonk. I winced at her direct indignation. I'm going to find that Motherfucker and gut him like a dead fish. And I will hang him with his own intestines. Ouch. I thought Metrak and Kobar were psychopaths. I almost feel sorry for you, Rico. Clonk. I can feel my room trembling with every punch. No, the whole complex is trembling from the force of her fist. Although I am aware of her strength, this kind of power is unworldly. I am now somewhat alarmed by her power. If the hole in the wall is any indication that she has the ability to transform Helgen into a third Earth and is attempting to improve our lives, I don't want to know what will happen if she goes on a rampage. The blows ceased as her servants approached her. I noticed her slouched on the ground while Regret whispered something to her. The woman gave her a tight hug. However, it doesn't take long. She approached me as she stood back up. At that moment, my body stiffens and a terrible sensation spreads throughout me. I gazed into what appeared to be horror story-inspired eyes rather than her typical onyx eyes. Those red sclera eyes with the black slit and the reddish-black veins that had scales of some kind around her temples, showing up on her neck. I feel like I'm staring into death. To my relief, the veins begin to return to normal and her eyes return to their typical onyx appearance. Sorry you have to see that, fearfully, I said. What was that? What was what? I'm curious, but I know it's impolite to ask a woman such a question. Those red eyes, bulging veins, and that jet-black scales. She dismissively remarked, let's just say, that's my power leaking. Okay. I won't ask any more questions because I think it would be impolite to try to satisfy my curiosity. So, any other questions you want to ask? Her voice was hollow as she asked, what happened to the others? Lente, Haka, Kratek, and Orlok. Lente and Haka died in a space battle during the invasion of Helgen. Kratek died during nuclear detonation in Pyrrhus, and Orlok, I hesitant again, how couldn't I? I've got a hand on. I practically leapt from my seat and took a step back as soon as I said, died in his cruiser defending me so I can fire irradiated petricite missile barrages against them. The same terrible feeling was now overwhelming my body, and it seemed to get worse when I looked into her red eyes with slits. As I watched her approach me, the terrible feeling grew stronger. You weaponized irradiated petricite? You finally resorted to something so low that those fools would do? She said callously. Give one good reason I shouldn't kill you, Stahl? Will she accept it, even though I have good reasons? Ophis, please understand that we have suffered too many losses against them. We were desperate from so many deaths caused by them. Please understand that we need some kind of deterrent against their WMDs, and that can only be achieved by irradiated petricite. I hold my hands up as I begin to beg for my life. Look, I know you're upset, but we don't have a choice, and I regret creating the monstrosities. She halted her advance and asked, what do you mean? Like I said, I regret it. After Orlok died, I snapped and fired the missile barrages against the opposing forces. The missiles get their job done quickly, and the energy shielding we deployed have rendered ESA snow missiles ineffective, decimating those fuckers like no tomorrow. But I didn't count a squad of ESA forces to hijack several of our strike ships. I grinned. Every strike fighter were equipped with a specific code that can be used to bypass my cruiser's shielding for refuel and rearming purposes. Using that as an advantage, they destroy my ship's warp coils, and my cruiser were descending fast towards Helgen's sky, I clarified. I managed to stabilize my cruisers, but I was above the ruins of Pyrrhus where we first discovered the irradiated petricite and contaminated large part of the city. Not taking any chances, one of the strike ships launched another nuke to my ship. I grinned at the thought. The nuke destroyed my ship along with the petricite. I escaped in time though, however, due to the volatile nature of the irradiated petricite, it caused massive explosive chain reaction that engulfed Helgen with radioactive mist until today. When I had finished explaining everything to her, she narrowed her eyes and gave me a look that made it impossible for me to move. After that, she closed the gap between us. This is it. Then she will kill me because my arguments are insufficient to persuade her. She closed her eyes and put her index finger to my forehead. What is she doing? She remained motionless for the next few minutes while displaying a range of emotions, including straight, anger, and sadness. She moved her finger, and the next thing I knew, she was giving me a big hug. Ophis? I'm sorry if I doubt you, she said. I was entering your mind to confirm your stories. Going into my. Really? Is she capable of doing that? What comes next? Using her and a drop of her blood to create a clone of herself? And I apologize to ever doubt you, I said. It's okay. I don't mind, it's understandable, as he let go of me. I looked at Ophis with hope and asked again, is there anything else you want to know, Ophis? Just few more things. Stall, Ophis's perspective. What about Hera and the survivors? Please share some positive news. I've had enough bad news for a day. Hera, she's safe, hiding in a safe house in Planetgyre, he said with a slight smile on his face. Oh my god, hearing that my little princess is safe makes me happy. He paused, his face contorted as though he had just realized something, and said, with her protection detail team disguised as civilian. As for the survivors. He said, his eyes widening in realization, now that you mention it, I was supposed to receive the report about the living settlement a few minutes ago, right when you punch the door. Oh my own self, did I just? My eyes dart to my female servant. Suffer. Open that door, see if there's any injured personnel, I said. Damn, it's not opening. I'm going to pry it open, she exclaimed as she hurried to the door in the hopes that it would slide open. When my servant said, pry it open, Stahl arched an eyebrow. Miss Suffer, that door is made of reinforced steel and has a sophisticated locking mechanism. You can't just, he said, but then he heard metal screeching as Suffer forced the door open. Or yeah, you could just pry it open, XXL gasped. A few minutes later, fortunately, the soldier who was supposed to deliver the report was found behind the door, terrified to no end. Immediately giving Jorhan the report, the Helgast fled the area while continuing to apologize until it faded and he vanished down the hallway. It's me who needs to apologize, not you, I heard Jorhan swear. Damn it. Jorhan, what is that? Food, water, and medical supplies are at an all-time low, the petricite generator is half depleted, and many refugees are starting to get sick. Jorhan closes and discards the report. We will only be able to survive for 2 or 3 more days before they start killing each other over food. If this keeps up, fuck my life. How about MREs? Hey, we're eating that meal, ready to excrete, since day 1. Like I said, we're stripped out of luxury 6 weeks ago, and that means eating that shits to survive. He scoffed. We're doomed, he said, running his hand through his hair and slamming it against his desk. Man, this is terrible. I need to take action before things get out of hand. Is there a mess hall here? Moreover, where is Med Bay? What are you going to do? Jorhan asked, raising his face in a curious manner. You'll see, struck a sly smile across my face. XXL Mess Hall is an underground complex. After several hours' third point of view, it's lunchtime, and some of the Helgast people are gathered in the mess hall. Normally, people are constantly discussing what they will eat, but a male Helgast said, here we are eating a barf bag again. I rather eat grenade or bullets than that meal, ready to expel, said the other. Hey, don't consume that. With seriousness, a Helgast soldier remarked, we need it if any spiders or bugs decided to attack the complex. Soldier, I'm not serious. I don't want to know how you handled MRE. A young woman named Helgast declared, I don't want to eat that dump. The other woman gave a positive, come on, be grateful you still can eat, response. It appears that meal ready to eat, or MRE, will always be despised and only touched when there are no other options, regardless of where you are, in a different dimension or galaxy. Their goal is to quickly serve food to soldiers or survivors, but many of their dishes were unappealing, earning them a number of negative monikers. They see Jorhan Stahl entering the mess hall. My fellow Helgast, he says as he walks toward the food stall near the kitchen on the far side of the hall where the Helgast are lining up, drawing all the attention to himself. The Helgast civilians and off-duty soldiers are now waiting in line in front of the food stall for the chef to get their food. He held up his MRE bag and said, for 6 weeks we have been stripped from luxury and forced to live this kind of hell, and this abomination that we were forced to eat, have kept us alive. But today, suddenly, he pulled out a shotgun and shot the MRE. Kachik blam kachak. The sound was amplified multiple times due to the enclosed area, so the civilians had to cover their ears. He motioned for a soldier to take his shotgun and hand it to him, saying, "We won't eat this shit in disguise, because someone has decided to contribute to make us food today." The crowds are murmuring and whispering about who would be so generous to prepare those dishes and how they did it when there were no ingredients left. "What do you mean, Chairman Stahl, that someone is preparing food for us? How can they cook for us since we have no food ingredients left over from the petricide terracide?" a civilian inquired. Their acting leader is being questioned in more whispers and murmurs. "Yes, but how?" another person said. "Please don't give us false hope, we're dying here." "Don't worry, my fellow Helgast, because she has her own method of accessing the resources," Jorhan said with a smile. "You will be pleased with her divine cuisine, I promised," he concluded. "She was the refugees' collective thought. Jorhan, are you serious? Did you really have to shoot that poor MRE, and do you need to work on your speech?" When a woman's voice emerged from the kitchen, the horrified soldiers and civilians alike widened their eyes and gasped. "LL Lady Ophis," exclaimed one of them haltingly. Ophis emerged from the room, exposing herself to the entire mess hall. As he defended his act of demolishing the MRE, he said, "Hee sorry, it's my first speech and that abomination kinda deserve it. Nice outfit by the way." Ophis rolls her eyes. "It's not really an outfit, rather, she's wearing a white apron over a tight leather jacket and a white chef hat, similar to those found in upscale restaurants." "Oh shut up you," she said, turning to face the throngs of Helgast who were now beaming with joy at not having to eat from MRE, and the person they regarded as their god, who had prepared it especially for them, could today get any better. With a cherry voice, Ophis asks them, "So who's hungry?" Ophis's perspective: "A week has passed since my arrival in Helgen and the unexpected discovery of my cherished location. I recalled the time I gave them food and water while my servants did the same, and they immediately accepted it without question and ate as if it were a gift from God. Well, technically, yes. And they said it was the best food they had ever eaten. Oh my goodness, I just prepared sushi, onigiris, and curry rice for them. Additionally, my servants are giving my people medical care on my orders, but not without cause." Day 1 flashback. I said, "Regret, suffer." Both of my servants bow down to me, saying, "Master, I want you to help them with medical needs. Use magic when you heals them for maximum effect." They drone out, "Yes, Master," and get up. "Oh, and more thing. When we arrived here, I'm detecting something from their body and I want you to find out about it. I need to make sure I'm not mistook it for something else." Flashback end. And when they gave me their report, I discovered an intriguing truth. Day 1's flashback end. Master, about your task we found out what it is, regretted. Suffer concluded, it's chakra and every individual has it. Seems I'm not wrong after all. I don't know how they got it, but this information made me come across with an idea. And it is? Suffer inquired. The words, "We're taking them with us," make me smile. Flashback end. Chakra, a life force energy created by combining spiritual and physical energy, is typically attained through rigorous training. Back then, I thought, how can they have it? The last time I was here, they didn't have chakra, and how do they achieve it? Perhaps the war forced them to undergo intense training in order to awaken chakra to such a degree. I immediately told Jorhan about it and suggested that we take everyone here to join us in escaping Helgen. At first, he refused, saying that this was their birthplace and would always be their home, but after I assured him that they would have a new home that was better than anywhere else and free from the oppressor's grasp, as well as an explanation of chakra capabilities, he agreed. Rewind to the first night, Jorhan's room. "No, we won't abandon Helgen," Stahl declared. "Jorhan, listen to me, please be reasonable. We don't have enough food and supplies to support the lives of 1,000 survivors anymore. You said it yourself, we almost run out of everything," I requested. "And besides, Helgen is lost," I replied with some hesitation. Jorhan appears to become agitated and yell at me, asking, "How could you say that? We call this place home. It was created with our ancestors' blood and sweat, and you turned it into a paradise before claiming it as your own. You want us to forget about it now?" "Jorhan, I didn't imply that. Come with me to a better place so I can teach our people the art of chakra. That's what I'm trying to say." "So, why didn't you provide us with training here? Can't you just use the same tool you used to terraform Helgen if the environment is the issue?" he uttered. "I would, if I could," I sigh as I close my eyes. His attention was drawn to that. "What do you mean?" "I have the tools to make it happen, but the fuel in Helgen is lost." "What do you mean again?" "In order to terraform Helgen, I must fuel my magic circle with Senjutsu energy from this planet Senjutsu is now collected using natural energy found in any vegetation that surrounds Helgen. Believe me, earlier today I attempted to terraform Helgen. However, the Petricide Terracide has destroyed all of the vegetation on this planet, so I can't use Senjutsu to terraform Helgen again, I told him. Damn it to hell, he said, lowering his head to his desk. So, what will you do? Are you counting down the days until you die? Ascend with me to a new world where I can teach you how to live away from this disaster and haughty oppressors, or, I pause a little. He looked serious as he considered the advantages and disadvantages of his choice. Well, what is this chakra capable of? Flashback termination. He gave in, and after we collect the necessary supplies and retrieve Hera from Gyre, we will depart. From the 2nd to the 5th day, in order for my servants to cross the dimensional gap without being weakened by the gap's emptiness, they prepared a magical shield for their cruise ships. Before we left this devastated area, we also began assembling supplies and looking for additional survivors outside the complex. On the 6th day, Hera and her protection details have arrived on Helgen without incident, and we have gathered enough supplies for the survivors and fuel for their cruisers. We have also been gathering more and more survivors outside of the underground complex. Day 6 of the flashback. Slap. The sound of a hand slapping a face reverberated throughout the space. Hera, I suppose I deserved that for abandoning you. I questioned a woman who seemed to be in her late 20s as she rubbed my left cheek in a dress. She hugged him back, sobbing with happiness. Where have you been, Auntie? I assumed you would never return, she sobbed. I told her, she has it too, a lot of it. Look, I'm sorry for leaving everyone behind, and now I'm trying to make it right by taking all of the survivors to a new home in a new world. Yes, you do that, just take us away from this place, away from them. Flashback end. There are dozens of Helgast cruisers behind me as I float somewhere above the desolate wasteland of Helgen on this 7th day. A huge dimensional gate in front of me is prepared to take us to a new location. Is the other side's dimensional gate prepared as well? I used my PDA to ask my servants inside the dimensional gap. Unlike many PDAs, ours is a magical craft item that functions similarly to a magic circle but has advanced technology, like that of a smartphone from the 21st century, as well as the ability to function as a military radio and more. It's finished. All we need now are the cruisers. I'm sorry. I switch the PDA line to Jorhan's cruiser and say, I see, good job, regret. Jorhan, move the cruisers. The second greatest exodus is underway. Roger, let me reiterate. We have green light. Move inside the portal in double time. One by one, the cruisers begin to enter the dimensional gap, passing through the emptiness of all existence in order to arrive at a different time and location. Before I leave this place entirely, I turn around to see this planet one last time as I watch the cruisers enter the portal. I promised to avenge you, my friend, but right now, I've got to bring our people away from this place. I saw what the Petricide can do, and I won't let anyone in this world use it to kill anyone else, I said, drawing a red magic circle with my finger. This is a god-class magic barrier, and I threw it high into the sky, allowing it to do its job of enclosing the entire planet in a barrier that prevents anyone from the outside from entering Helgen. As I watch the final Helgast cruiser enter, I blink away inside the portal after the circle has completed its task and shut it. I gave them a signal to follow me by blinking at the other gate and entering it. I heard my PDA come to life as the first cruiser entered this blue world. Whoa, is this a different planet? Haha, you could say that, Jorhan, but this is not Earth nor Vecta. I thought to myself after I terraformed the world. It appeared to be Earth or Helgen, with a clear sky, a deep blue sea, and an abundance of oxygen. So, where are we? I switched the radio channel on my PDA to Helgen children, welcome to the elemental realm. The shinobi's home and our new residence. Years later, no jutsu time skip. Hello, Konohagakure, no Kuni. October 10th. Third point of view. This was the day that the renowned Yondaime Hokage, the current leader of Konohagakure no Sato, killed the powerful Kyuubi, so it was a busy evening with lots of people celebrating the festival. A family in kimonos playing in the game stand, a ramen stand opening their business, kids playing in the streets, kids using fireworks, and many more can be seen. A boy with blonde hair and whiskers who appeared to be no older than 8 years old was being pursued by a number of irate mobs while some people were setting up fireworks for the festival's finale. What? He's right there, a civilian roared. Kill the child, Kyuubi. There was another roar. Stop him from getting away, with a pitchfork, another one roared. Another with a flaming torch, and we will finish what Yondaime-sama failed to do. This boy is the son of Kushina, Akashi, Uzumaki, Minato, Yondaime, Namikaze, and Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Since this is an annual event known as the Fox Hunt, Naruto is currently fleeing the mob. You see, he and his twin sister, Narumi, were born on October 10th, 8 years ago. In addition to releasing Kyuubi from its Jinchuriki and seizing control of it, a man posing as Madara Uchiha attacks his family while wearing an orange spiral mask and a black coat with a red cloud pattern in the process. He kidnaps his mother, Uzumaki Kushina. Although Yondaime Hokage was able to repel the masked man, he was unable to stop the Kyuubi from going on the rampage, so he chose to use Shiki Fujin to seal the soul into Naruto and transfer Kyuubi's power into her newborn daughter, transforming her into a Jinchuriki. Everyone was aware of the dangers of Shiki Fujin. It was a desperate decision with no other options. But before he could cast the jutsu, the Sandaime Hokage beat him and took his place, sparing the Yondaime soul from Shinigami's stomach along with the twins' mother Tsunade Senju, who just so happened to be in this village, saved Kushina from certain death. The Yondaime and his wife, however, were aware of the hardships faced by Jinchuriki and were afraid for their daughter's future as a result of rumors that female Jinchuriki were receiving preferential treatment from their tormentor. They heartily declared that their son was the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. The civilians blamed the Jinchuriki for this, believing the boy to be the reincarnation of the evil beast, and attempted to kill him in retaliation. To keep their daughter safe, they decided to doom their son's future. Naruto quickly turns right into the alleyway and continues to run, eluding the crowds. He's going to the alleyway, which is a dead end. A civilian yelled, "He's cornered," and other people cheered. Naruto yelled in his head, "Yakumo-chan, I could use your help now," and then something occurred. The civilians saw thick vines appear out of nowhere and encircle them, preventing them from moving. However, Naruto saw that the civilians were confined to nothing but air, so he used this as an excuse to channel chakra into his legs, run toward a wall, and scale the building. When he arrived at the top, a 9-year-old girl with long brown hair and light brown eyes greeted him. Her hair was tied in a braid on one side and was straight on the other. She was dressed in violet pants and a pink kimono. "This is Yakumo, the Kurama clan's heiress," he muttered. "Thank you, Yakumo-chan." "You're welcome, Naruto-kun. Let's go outside now." The route leading to Kurama Mansion. "Are you certain that your genjutsu still protects your mansion from the Anbu?" She assured her friend. "Hi, Naruto-kun, as long as my painting is still intact, they won't see or hear us." Although the Kurama heiress was born with a weak and fragile body, she was gifted with her clan's genjutsu. Kekkei Genkai. Her genjutsu is so strong that it physically damages the victim's body because it makes the brain believe anything that happens to them. Yuhi Kurenai, Konoha's genjutsu mistress, was supposed to train her to use her power, but Kurenai refused to do so and told her to find another way in life. Naturally, Yakumo refused to give up her shinobi career. Why should she pursue another one? The fact that she is incapable of using taijutsu or ninjutsu does not preclude her from being a kunoichi, does it? Come on, why can't a genjutsu prodigy like her receive the same privileges as a young child named Rock Lee who is proficient in taijutsu but incapable of performing ninjutsu or genjutsu? His sensei works hard to teach him the art. The majority of her power was sealed when she was addressed by her purported sensei. However, that does not preclude her from using some of it. "Gomen, Yakumo-chan, but I don't like them watching us," he said, turning to face a tree on his right where an Anbu wearing a monkey mask was almost perfectly hidden. He focused his attention on the manor in front of him rather than the straggling kids a few meters below him, indicating that they were under genjutsu. Rest assured, Naruto-kun, as she approached a wolf mask Anbu who was hiding inside the bushes, picking up a fallen twig and poking him in the head with it. Not reacting, Yakumo smiled and said, "I assured you they can't move from their places." "You see?" She chuckled. "I guess you're right," he replied. "Come on, let's go. We can't leave Hinata-chan for so long." Manor Kurama. He threw himself onto the couch and remarked, "Phew, that was a close one. I can't believe I ran all over the village for those breads and stuff, Dadbeo. I'm sorry Naruto-kun for making you do this, but we really need it for our plan escaping this village." "Please don't be, Yakumo-chan. I'm more than glad to do this," he assured her. "Where are the breads, if you don't mind?" Naruto took a scroll out of his pocket and said, "It's all sealed here if it's okay with you. May I ask why you need candles?" She grinned and said, "You just wait and see," before vanishing into the kitchen and leaving Naruto sprawled out on a couch. They have been living together for a year since they first met, and they are now friends after going through a lot together. He still recalls the time he saved Hinata from a group of bullies, which resulted in another fox chase. While attempting to protect Hinata from the enraged mobs, the chase lasted for 2 hours, and they ended up in the same alleyway where he had ended up earlier, with the villagers obstructing their only way out. He is terrified of what will happen to him and the girl he just rescued from the enraged mobs, who have already cornered them. The only thing he could describe at the time was that the civilians were swinging their axes, torches, and pitchforks at nothing but air, and some of them were lying underground as though they were being restrained by a snake. However, he noticed that the villagers appeared to be struggling against something just before he took another beating. At that moment, they realized that Yakumo was their savior. Holding several of her canvases in her arm to divert their attention, Yakumo then motioned for them to run and accompany her, and since they had nowhere else to go, they followed her to Kurama Mansion, a safe haven. Beautiful friendships between them began the day after that. "Can you help us, Naruto-kun?" He could hear Yakumo talking from the kitchen. "I'm coming," he said, getting up from the couch and making his way to the kitchen. "So what do you want me to?" He stops talking as he looks at what is happening in front of him. He sees Yakumo standing there grinning at him, and next to her is a girl his age who has white Byakugan eyes and short black hair with a Heim cut. She is wearing a long-sleeved shirt and black baggy pants, and if you look closely, you can see a nearly covered green seal. As with her female friends, Hinata Hyuga, the heiress of the Hyuga clan, is smiling and holding a cake with 8 candles lit. "Yakumo-chan, Hinata-chan, what are they doing?" he asked them in confusion. They all yelled, "Happy birthday, Naruto-kun." Okay, so this is his birthday. Why can't he remember it? Looking back, why can't he remember it? Her parents have been smothering his sister since his 2nd birthday, and they have never once paid him any attention, all of which should have gone to his sister. He once attempted to celebrate his birthday outside in the village, away from her careless parents. This was a poor decision because the villagers celebrate the Kyuubi's death at this time each year, and his arrival only fueled the resentment of the locals and signaled the start of the fox hunt. Since that day, he has refused to celebrate his birthday. Instead, he has confined himself to their family library and studied everything it has to offer. And after all this time, his only friends celebrate his 8th birthday, or perhaps his 1st, when he truly feels loved and cared for. He wiped away any traces of tears from his eyes and said, "Thank you, everyone." "You're welcome, Naruto-kun." Yakumo smiled sweetly. "We want to make your birthday special for once, so that's why we went into trouble gathering ingredient for cake." "Thank you, Yakumo-chan, for making this." He turned to the other girl and said, "Don't thank me, Naruto-kun. Hinata came up with the idea." "Hinata, you don't know how much I love your idea, and for that I thank you," he said. Hinata blushed as a result. "Why, you're welcome, and Naruto-kun. I thought it would be a good idea to celebrate your birthday before we go," she stammered. Naruto grinned and expressed his gratitude for these two being there for him. "Would you kindly blow out the candle and make a wish now?" As Hinata held the cake forward, Naruto obeyed. He inhaled deeply and blew out his candle. "I wish." Their minds are more mature and developed than those of most children their age, and most people will assume that this is because they come from a prestigious clan and must appear intelligent and noble, but that is not the case. The beatings from the villagers and his careless parents helped Naruto develop his mature thinking. Yes, he understands why the civilians beat him to death and why they would rather teach his sister than him. Because he carries the Kyuubi soul inside of him while his sister holds the chakra in part. He understands why he accepted responsibility, but in another part, he wants to choke his parents for condemning him for something over which he had no control. While exploring her clan's library, Yakumo came across a scroll about her clan's Kekkei Genkei and her sensei's rejection of her. The Kurama clan is known for their powerful senjutsu, so powerful that it might be on par with a senjutsu cast by fully grown Sharingan, not Mangekyo or above, with 3 tomo if they were trained properly, but sadly, the sensei gave up on her. Yakumo discovered the main reason she was left untrained while looking through the scroll about her fear. In Hinata's case, she succeeded after a week of exile from her own clan because she simply failed to live up to her father's expectations and refused to fight her 4-year-old sister. In contrast to many Hyuga clan members' arrogant and aloof demeanor, Hinata was shy, kind, and extremely polite. She is the kind of girl you want to cuddle and smother, but her father saw this as a weakness and considered her a failure. Her dislike of fighting caused her to be exiled from her clan and forced to live on the streets before she met Naruto and Yakumo. When these unfortunate people came together, they devised a scheme to get out of this terrible village. They were considering leaving this village because they had had enough of the foolishness of their parents, sensei, clan, and village, as well as the bad choices that had brought them to this predicament. They selected October 10th because it was the day when both civilians and shinobis in the village were concentrating on the impending festival and there was less security in the village than on any other day of the year. They currently congregate in the living room of Kurama Manor, where they sit on the couch and inspect their equipment. All right, check your clothes, water and food. Check out the jutsu scrolls. Explosive tags checked and completed. Naruto-kun, what about the weapons? Yakumo inquired. Sword, shuriken, and kunai. He looked to his side and saw an opened crate with dozens of shurikens, kunais, and a single straight sword without a guard. Yeah, they are ready too, he said. B but D, do you believe that using these weapons is prudent? What about someone searching for this? Hinata stammered cautiously. Hinata-chan, don't worry, these weapons are not sought after, and Konoha would not manufacture the weapon design. The bladed weapons they will employ are, in fact, not of Konoha design. The kunai is the same color as a regular kunai, but it has silver edges. The shuriken is more curved and has the same color and edges. And the blade is 1 meter long without a guard and has the same color and edge. A week ago, while he was fleeing the villagers once more, Naruto stumbled upon a destroyed strange large black object where he discovered a crate full of these weapons. He then unintentionally entered the area known as Training Area 44, or more commonly, the Forest of Death, to get away from the villagers. As he approached the crate, he closed the lid to reveal a symbol. Besides, he said, would you look at the symbol on the crate? He points his index finger at the symbol, saying, it's not Konoha's. They find the symbol odd because it has a black Y, with a white outline in the center, 3 arrows at each of its tips, and a serpent attempting to bite its tail circling the Y symbol. Hinata started to say, B but what if, but Yakumo's embrace interrupted her. Hinata-chan, don't worry too much please, we wouldn't suffer any harm. Hinata nods in response to Yakumo calming her shy friend. All right, the equipment and supplies are finished. Did everyone still recall the plan? Gate of Konoha. Yakumo, Hinata, and Naruto are now watching the gate in front of them from above the roof. Prior to Naruto creating 4 cage bunshin, 2 of them hinged themselves into Hinata and Yakumo so they wouldn't be able to risk being discovered, and 1 hinge into a random civilian to provide a status update in case the other clones were compromised and needed more information about their pursuers. They were also strengthened with seals so they could withstand multiple damage before they would cease to exist. Naruto said, Hinata. Yes, Byakugan. She activated her family dojutsu by forming a hand seal and then having veins bulge around her temple, scanning the area for potential traps or guards. What is the number of guards? As she turned off her jutsu, she remarked, oh, only 2 leaning on the outside of the gate and no traps or additional guards and no civilians around. Naruto nods to Hinata and then turns to face Yakumo, saying, your turn. Yakumo took her canvas and painting supplies out of her bag and began drawing at a speed that was unmatched. The 3 kids noticed the guards slump to the ground, sound asleep, when a drawing of sleeping guards was completed a few seconds later. The 3 of them got up and began jumping from roof to roof before landing on top of the gate, confirming the guard's status. Okay, let's go. They swiftly flee the village for good by running toward the woods after confirming the sleeping guard. Somewhere in the land of Fire Forest, third-person perspective, 2 of the 3 Konoha younglings are still sleeping soundly, and Naruto has taken his final turn to watch over them. They run for nearly 6 hours straight without stopping, which could cause issues for Yakumo, but fortunately, Naruto creates a cage bunshin to carry her and continue moving forward. They then choose to set up camp and spend the remainder of the night sleeping. He's currently sitting on a nearby tree and looking at the map he took out of the crate he discovered more than a week ago. To be honest, he wasn't entirely sure where he wanted to go. He was certain that he wanted to leave the village permanently, but he didn't make enough plans for where he would go next. That is, until he came across this map. The map unfolds before his eyes, with half of it displaying all of the elemental nations he is familiar with. Hai no Kuni, Kaminari no Kuni, Kei's no Kuni, Tsuchi no Kuni, Mizu no Kuni, Tetsu no Kuni, Yuki no Kuni, and others, as well as other minor nations. Each nation has a symbol above it that represents its name, with odd writing beneath the symbol. But what caught his attention was another continent across the Mizu no Kuni on the map's far side. The map indicated that a continent half the size of all the elemental nations combined was located far across the oceans to the east. If all the elemental nations were labeled with their corresponding elements, the entire continent would be labeled with the same symbol he found on the crate, but with a more refined and stylized version of the Y serpent symbol, AN. See the story's cover above, indicating that this continent is united as one nation. Why haven't I heard of this country before? Is it possible that the weapons we use are coming from this land? He muttered he couldn't help but wonder where these weapons were made, even though he knew it was a dumb question because the crate's symbol was a dead giveaway. They must make it to this continent, they have to flee to this continent, so forget about that. He considered fleeing to one of the neighboring countries, but he quickly dismissed the idea for a number of reasons. He didn't mind the latter, but he didn't want the former to occur because he wouldn't allow his friends to become breeding stock if he chose to flee to Kaminari no Kuni, the land where Kumogakure ninja originated. He would have doomed Hinata's fate due to Hyuga affairs that occurred 5 years ago, when Hinata was abducted by a Kumo ambassador but failed due to her father. He was certain that they would use him as leverage to reach the Yondaime Hokage. Second, if he chooses to flee to Tsuchi no Kuni, the home of the Iwagakure ninja, who have a deep-seated animosity toward the Yondaime and will stop at nothing to win back his family, friends, or legacy, he has just won 3 complimentary tickets to the vacation island of Shinigami, where they will live in the Happy Afterlife Hotel and return home via the Flying Stork Baby Delivery Service Corps with the loving, contented family they have long desired. Although it's tempting, that isn't how he wanted his life to end. 3. Mizu no Kuni. The country is in a state of turmoil since the Sandaime Mizukage of Kirigakure started a civil war by murdering everyone who possessed Kekkei Genkei, so no, even though the land is fairly remote and can work in their favor. 4. Since Land of Wind is an ally of the Land of Fire, he would encounter difficulties from the authorities. If he went there, they would probably report him to the Land of Fire authorities, which would result in a major pursuit. Finally, 5. It was actually suggested by someone. The mindscape of Naruto was created 2 hours prior. Where am I? How did Naruto end up in the dark sewer? He set up camp just outside the forest, then collapsed on his sleeping bag to replenish his chakra, and now he's in the Kami nowhere sewer. Hey, is anyone able to hear me? His voice was accompanied by the echo of his own voice as he spoke. No answer. Choosing to do more research, he began to explore the sewer in an attempt to find a way out of the area. He continued to stroll for nearly an hour before coming to a large space where he could see a huge cage with the kanji word seal written in the middle of it. Ah, finally my jailer decided to pay a visit, an evil voice boomed throughout the neighborhood. Naruto became agitated by that and swiftly drew a kunai from the air. No, that doesn't matter right now. Wait, how could this happen? Exhibit yourself. He prepares a stance while holding his kunai tightly. Oh, are you aggressive? The voice said. Then he hears a loud thumping coming from the other side of the cage. Naruto braces himself to see what will appear, and when the thumping stops, he sees a set of fangs forming a toothy grin and a pair of blood-red eyes with slits. As he stares at the monster in front of his eyes, Naruto tightens his hold on his kunai and says, Kyuubi. Ding ding ding. He's correct. Give the prize to the boy. Yes, I am the Kyuubi. The Kyuubi said before they split my soul and my chakra and sealed it inside 2 babies, the one who devastated your village 8 years ago. Where are we? How did you bring me to this place? Oh, you're not sure. Gaki, this is your mental landscape? How did you get here? You came here on your own, Kyuubi thought, and now that you're here, let's talk about something. Naruto narrowed his eyes when the beast said, if you're talking about escaping the seal, then forget it. I may hate you for making my life a living hell, but I won't let you escape because I know it would cause more damage to every village you visit, killing more innocent people in the process. However, if I removed Konoha from the map for you, would you be angry with me? That caused Naruto to freeze. Is it worth it to let this chakra beast go free? Will he despise this beast for destroying the village that mistreats him and his friends for something over which they have no control? Kyuubi's thunderous laughter interrupted Naruto's internal conflict as he froze, drawing his focus back to the chakra beast. Look at you. You gave my offer to destroy your village second thought, ha ha ha. Oh, the irony. The son of the great Yondaime who stopped the Kyuubi want to replace the mighty Kyuubi's stead in destroying the village. Naruto can see the chakra beast's fangs moving up and down as it laughs. The son of Yondaime hell-bent for the destruction of Konoha. Ha ha ha. Naruto has no way to retaliate for that. It's true that he despises the village so much that, if it weren't for his friends, he might kill everyone there and bring about justice on his own. However, that entails presenting sufficient evidence to convince the general public that he is Kyuubi's reincarnation. As softly as a demon's voice can be, Kyuubi said, but rest assured, I won't do that nor escape. What do you mean by that? Asked Naruto, who was taken aback by Kyuubi's ideas and the beast's altered voice tone. That's exactly what I mean, Gaki. Even if I were to escape, I would be powerless because I lack the chakra necessary to manifest my body and the ability to destroy anything. And your seal is powerful enough to keep me imprisoned until your very last breath. I also can't break through the seal without my chakra. So basically I'm stuck here with you without the means to escape, the beast clarified. So, Datbeo, why did you propose this? Gaki, try to live 8 years in this accursed damp place without something to entertain you and you'll understand why I do that to you. He gave the beast a disbelieving look and said, so you made that ridiculous request because you were bored and wanted to see how I would respond. Flatly, the beast replied, yes. You're evil, with a toothy smile, he said, I know I tried my best. I don't take that as a compliment, he yells in a humorous manner as Kyubi stifles a laugh. Kyubi's words were filled with seriousness. Jokes aside, what I'm trying to say is I can tell you a safe haven away from this place. With the same amount of gravity, Naruto, who had also recovered his composure, responded, and why should I trust you? Oh the mighty Kyubi, you're the one who attacked Konoha and you also contributed to ruining my life, so give a reason or reasons why I should trust you, he mockingly remarked in the final line. Are you not making fun of me? Trust me when I say that I detest being confined to a lowly human like you, Kyubi responded. I would prefer to be free of this miserable place you called Mindscape, but whether I like it or not, I'm confined behind this cage, and if you die, I die. The first reason I'm doing this is to ensure our survival together. Through Kyubi reasoning, Naruto was silent as he processed all of the information he had heard. The second reason is that you don't know where you want to go next. You might get out of here, but where are you going next? Kumo? Suna? Kiri? If you were to enter the land of Earth, you would undoubtedly perish. Kyubi grinned and added, and if I recall right, the smaller countries that surround the Land of Fire have a lot of Land of Fire influences and they can quickly report you to the authorities, ending your escape plan, miserably. So I want to voice out my thought about your next destination, not only for the benefit of my survival, but also your friend's survival, should you agree. The sewer is silent as Naruto considers Kyubi's offer. Since Kyubi brought it up, where could he go for his next stop? All the countries could be dangerous to them because the Yondaime Hokage revealed that he was a Jinchuriki, making him a hunting trophy of every hidden village. Naruto considered all of his options, but he was unable to find anything. So, what are your thoughts? Naruto continues to gaze at Kyubi, who appears to be lying down at the moment with his head resting over its forearms. So what is this place you're talking about? He asks, lowering his kunai and lowering his stance to relax. Now after examining the map for 30 minutes, Naruto folded it up inside, saying, I suppose we can go to Land of Fire Harbor, go to Wave, and find a ship that can transport to this place. After hearing Kyubi's proposal, he made the decision to visit this unidentified location. He didn't want to take a chance on his destiny, but he had no other option. The chances of this country helping him in the long run or capturing him and his friend for unidentified reasons are 50-50, but he will accept the first 50 while doubting the latter. He did, however, accept the information from Kyubi and made plans to find a way out of this new country. However, when he studied the map, he heard Kyubi growling for an unknown reason. Naruto turns to the right and notices that Yakumo and Hinata are still asleep. He can't blame them, though, because they have been running non-stop for 6 hours and are all extremely exhausted. Still feeling sleepy, Naruto is going to make a clone to take his place when he suddenly clutches his stomach and freezes in horror, causing perspiration to pour down his cheeks and his breathing to become labored. He tries to get up but falls hard to the ground. Air, he moaned, experiencing a phantom pain in his stomach that felt like lava burning through it. What the hell is GUH? He let out a loud enough grunt to awaken her two friends. Hinata and Yakumo leap out and rush to his side, shouting, Naruto-kun, together. How are you doing? Yakumo asks, pulling out a medical kit from her bag. I'm fine. It's a after effect of CC clone dispelling, he mumbled. BB, but how are you in so much pain? Hinata blinks. Yondaime and his family, Naruto said contemptuously, kneeling on the ground and still clutching his stomach, promised to train me. It was just accepted by my clone. Okay, I don't see the problem in that, said Yakumo, raising an eyebrow. That's the problem, Yakumo-chan. Naruto was helped up by Hinata. My clone accepted it and imagined my surprise when they explained I need to spar with my sister before I can learn from them. I guess it doesn't end well, Yakumo said, narrowing her eyes. Datbeo, I bet it didn't end well. She began by moving forward and attacking me in a brawler fighting style, but because of our joint training, my clone was able to block every blow she made, he said. Then, my clone managed to land several heavy hits to her and she didn't take it well and start spamming jutsus on my clone, which he dodged every last of it and then placing some of trap seal that restrict her movement, and my clone managed to deliver a heavy blow to her gut. He inhaled. He shuddered and said, and that is where everything gets awry. She went crazy on my clone after drawing Kyuubi chakra, and he didn't last as long as he tried to control his emotions. As she is Naruto-kun. She pierced my stomach with a Rasengan infused with Kyuubi chakra. She tried to kill me, Naruto said, clenching his fists and gritting his teeth in rage. The two girls are unable to express their shock at the revelation. The worst part is that after the fight, we both fall to the ground. My father, Yondaime, and his wife arrived at our location, picked up Narumi, and carried her inside, leaving me by myself with a gaping hole in my body. They didn't care for me, only her, he yelled. Letting all of his anger and bitterness out, he turned to face his friends, his eyes hollow and blank. What did I do to deserve this? Am I truly unwelcome? Before Naruto continues, both Yakumo give him a reassuring embrace. Yakumo comforted her first friend by saying, There, Naruto, don't think about it. Although she appeared composed on the outside, she was furious that Yondaime could do such a thing, forgetting him, who was clearly more hurt and most likely dead if he was actually present. Hinata patted him on the back and said, Why you still have us, Naruto-kun? Why, simply why? Yakumo softly whispered, SSHH, it's okay, they're not here to hurt you, just you and us away from them. NYH. After 10 minutes all of the younglings pack their things into their bags and eat a quick breakfast with bread. After Naruto calms them down, Naruto then lays out the map he previously found and begins to explain his plan to Yakumo, with Hinata observing from the sidelines. Okay, since we can't escape to another countries or another ninja village, I'm taking chance to go to this land, far across the land of water, he says as he points to the continent. This is crazy. Naruto, how did we get here? Yakumo reasoned, why don't we run into somewhere nearby since we don't have the transportation to get there? Answering her question with his previously abandoned ideas, Naruto began to outline all the possible outcomes should they come into contact with foreign shinobi, none of which were pleasant. You could be killed, imprisoned, or worse. Yakumo grimaced, realizing that he was correct. All the foreign countries are either influenced by or resentful of their village, making it more difficult for them to flee Hai no Kuni. Yakumo-chan, I think we should definitely follow my suggestion, Naruto thought. I know it sounds absurd, but this is our only chance. We'll flee to Nami and then find a ship to this land. I'm sure they have a ship to this continent, otherwise this continent wouldn't be registered on this map. Yakumo appears to give it more careful thought, but like Naruto previously, she had no other options. All right, then she reluctantly agreed, we'll follow your plan. When do we depart? As soon as Naruto stopped talking, his eyes grew wide. Damn it, my backup clone just destroyed. I've been discovered. When he disclosed that, both of his friends became tense. Yakumo and Hinata, we must depart immediately. To get us back, Yondaime ordered 12 anbu. That caught both girls' attention. Yakumo's jaw dropped, and Hinata stopped eating her bread. How many again? There were 12 of them. They include some Inuzuka anbu. Pack our things quickly so they won't find us. The three oppressed children swiftly packed their belongings without arguing any more. NYH no Sato Konohagakure Namikaze Uzumaki home. The Yondaime Hokage and his wife discovered their son's condition 15 minutes after the incident when they took Narumi to the hospital. However, they were shocked and surprised to find their son dead in the yard. The red-haired mother screamed, but her shock quickly changed when her son abruptly vanished, indicating that they had spent the entire time with their son's cage Bunshin. They have both looked everywhere for their son, even in the red light district of Konoha, but they haven't been able to locate him. But when they went into Naruto's room and saw the note he had left for them, they had their answer. Their estranged son's message was filled with a lot of criticism, and stated that he was permanently removed from their family. Both parents are currently seated on a couch in the living room. He left us. Kushina Uzumaki, the twins' mother, sat in the living room, fighting back tears as she recalled how she had neglected her son for 8 years in favor of her daughter. In reality, she didn't want to do this, but a particular circumstance compelled her to do so, and now her son had fled the village, asking, "What have we done, Minato-koi?" she cried. Minato tries to console his wife by giving her a hug. Don't worry, Kushi-chan, I already sent squads of Anbu to bring him back and he will be back. But will he despise us? I mean, we essentially abandoned him in the yard with such a huge hole. What would happen if that were the real Naru-chan, even though it's a clone? She asked her husband while wiping some tears on her eyes and the notes. He said, ssh, don't worry, he'll be back with us, before adding, I hope. Somewhere else, unidentified location. Is this accurate? An elderly man with a cane, a black robe over his white shirt, and a bandage over his right eye asked. Hello, Danzo-sama, we just verified that our Jinchuriki was fleeing our village. A man wearing an Enbu uniform and a blank mask told his superior. Shimura Danzo is an extremist who, in contrast to most Kages, daimyos who favored peaceful solutions, preferred to kill his target by assassination and other morally dubious means. I see. The Yondaime was a fool for not letting me to train our weapon and now he's on the loose. He was eager to get his hands on Yondaime's son after the village's Jinchuriki was revealed, but he is constantly protected by the ANBUs or the civilians are chasing him like crazy. The latter proved to be a hindrance to his plan because the weapon has since isolated itself inside his family compound. Now that he's fleeing unprotected and there are no witnesses outside the village, things might work out for him. I want 15 of my best agents to track him down and bring him back to Konoha, he stated. He's a valuable asset to our village and will be our finest agent to my root ops. How about the Anbu of Hokage? Avoid them if possible, eliminate them if necessary. The blank mask said, it shall be done. Danzo-sama, and Anbu Shunshin went to gather his men. As an ambitious bastard, he gathered his men and operated in the shadows, keeping the Konoha safe. In his own way, one thing he always makes sure people notice is that he kept his root Anbu a secret after the Sandaime homage formally disbanded the group. Soon, you will understand your purpose in this village, Naruto, and I intend to show you the right way. Back with NYH. Are you done yet? Yakumo asked her blonde friend, said Blonde, now stuffing his bag with the weapons and supplies. Yeah, just need to put the shurikens and kunai to my pouch and we're ready to go. Naruto putting a lot of stuffs into his bag, unaware he throw a silver tubular object into his bag in some kind of luck or something, he unaware that he accidentally pushed certain button on the tubular object. Come on, let's go. NYH. The scenery change into certain black room. The room was spacious with dark-colored theme inside the room as many people with black military uniform, red-orangish googles with armband with said, Y, serpent symbol lining up behind their work desks with an array of keyboard. The room was barely lit. The only light source were the wide spacious holographic screen at the front end of the room. A distress signal? A man suddenly perked up. He noticed something is off when he received a distress signal coming from Land of Fire. Hey, are you seeing this? He asked to his county worker. Yeah, I see it too. Do another scan, it might be a fake. Complying his county worker, he proceeded to do another scan several times and the holographic screen shows the same result over and over. It seems genuine, but how come we received our own distress signal inside Land of Fire when our leader strictly prohibited us to enter this continent without her permission? The man wondered. His co-worker narrowed his eyes. The county worker then moved to him and whispered, there may be deserter in our midst, but I don't know for sure. It may not be true, he said skeptically. If not, then how can you explain this? He gestured at the holographic screen. The screen shows a red blip and pinging, marking the position of the sender's signal. If he deserted from us, then why would he bother to send a distress signal? Hell, he probably didn't want us to find his location, and sending his location was a foolish decision, he argued. Fair point. The county worker replied, this is troubling. He need to report this. As far as he remember, their leader strictly prohibited their shinobis to enter the elemental continent unless they got approval from her. Fail to do so will result a severe punishment. But why would she send the distress signal if she want to secretly desert? He got up from his seat and walked toward the entrance. I'll report to the colonel. We need to inform him about this development. Could you take my place for a while? Sure thing. Oh, by the way, you might find the colonel at the Autarch's sanctum. Last time I heard he's giving his report about our next generation shinobi. 2 for the price of 1. Thanks for the info. Why New Helgen? Why the sanctum? It's actually a sanctuary for the first Autarch should the Issa manage to break through the Fierce defense. But after the destruction of Helgen, the second Autarch has modified the purpose of this sanctuary as her office as well as her throne room. The sanctum is an exact replica of the first Autarch's sanctum, complete with engraved painting and the Helgast triad on the ground with several modifications like the serpent circling the triad. A new batch of young shinobi just graduate from the academy. 120 cadets have passed with either good or great aptitude and proficiency in taijutsu, ninjutsu, genjutsu, bukajutsu, and kenjutsu. A man with helmet, gas mask, hybrid and red eyes reported he's wearing black decorated ACU covering both of his feature with it to his right waist as a katana along with its sheath that looks like a bit weird as it have a trigger on it. Only 120. I thought we have 160 cadets this year. What happened to the other 40, Colonel? A feminine voice filled the room. She's leaning forward on her desk with hands clasped before her. Said female was none other than Ophis, the infinite dragon god. She's wearing her old uniform when she was with Vasari years ago, a long black coat that hug her figure greatly, black pants, black glove, and black high heels boots. Her long hair now was done in a low ponytail with some of the hair was forming bangs on each side of her face. Yes, my autarch, 20 of them were having difficulties in performing body flicker or any other kind of ninjutsu, 10 were having difficulties with their kenjutsu, 5 were having difficulties with basic genjutsu, and the last 5 were having trouble with their chakra control, he finished. I see, have several instructors to help them perfecting their technique. I don't want to see them suffer another month for remedial class 1. Want them graduate with at least a good mark so they can fight with their comrades side by side when the time has come. The colonel then bowed to her. It shall be done. My autarch, is there anything else I can help? He said with respectful tone. Ophis was about to dismiss him when suddenly the intercom on her desk come to life. She pushed the button on her intercom. My autarch, are you busy right now? Her secretary asked. No, I just finished my business with the colonel. What is it? I identified a communication officer from the CIC room. Want to deliver an urgent message just for you and the colonel. How urgent is this information? He said the information is only for yours and the colonel's ears only. Ophis narrowed her eyes. Whatever the information he's holding, it's something that can be considered high-class information. Ophis looked over to his colonel. She give him a nod to which he give the gesture back to her. Pushing the intercom answer down, Ophis ordered her secretary, send him in. Why, New Helgen, why? Are you certain about this information, Lieutenant? How come someone sent a distress signal when the autarch clearly prohibited us from entering that continent? With all due respect, Colonel, we're not quite sure. We deduced there's a possibility of deserters in our midst, but what I don't understand is why they are sending a distress signal when they want to defect from us is incredibly stupid and foolish on their side. The lieutenant responded. And would you take a look at this? The CIC officer pulled a tablet, tapped it several times, and the tablet projected a map of Land of Fire with the red dot blipping on the southern of the country. It's moving constantly to the east, indicating that them constantly moving. It seems they want us to come for them. Underneath his mask, the colonel narrowed his eyes. No, if it's really a deserter as you say, then it would be bet. Ophis cut him off. No, it's not deserters. Ophis declared. Her declaration gained the attention of the colonel. My autarch? Seeing the confusion on her shinobis, Ophis elaborated her reasoning. You already know that I draw chakra seals on every Helgast shinobi. The purpose of those seals is not only to prevent anything happen to any dead Helgast shinobi, but also act as marker for me to track should they run away, Ophis explained. Now I scanned over for any escapees only to discover that none of our shinobi deserting from my beloved empire. Are you sure, my autarch? I'm not questioning you or anything, I'm just curious. Yes, I'm 100% sure, Colonel. As far as I can remember, we have 2,568,867 active shinobis, and that's including Ghost Anbu, our Jonins, First Lieutenant, General, Chunins, Warrant Officer Second Lieutenant, and Genins, Private, Sergeant Major, along with 120 fresh shinobi from your earlier report. On the background, the lieutenant tapped his tablet several times and revealed a database of every active Helgast shinobi, only to reveal the exact amount of active Helgast as the shinobi from their empire, much to his surprise. Lieutenant? Ophis asked suddenly. Yes, my autarch? He quickly straightened himself. Are there any progress report from the CIC? No, my autarch, there's no. He suddenly paused as his radio earpieces come to live. Excuse me for a second. The lieutenant listened to every update given by his county worker. This just in, it seems my co-worker managed to find out the serial number of the distress signal. Judging from the serial number, we found out it was emitted from VC002 distress signal sender made by Vasari Corporation should our shinobi strand on an island or any kind of situation that need to be picked up, and again, judging from the serial number, it is believed the device was placed inside Overlord dropship under designation of Icarus II from Icarus Flight. The revelation made the colonel's eyes go wide while the autarch remained calm. Icarus Flight? Isn't their last mission was, the colonel said. Scouting the Hidden Leaf Village, the autarch finished. That was straight 8 years ago, and on the same day too, when I ordered them to pull off from the region. Icarus II radio went static, but what we managed to clear it up, and the only thing we can hear from their last transmission was, we were hit by giant tail. Before they went dark, Ophis rubbed her chin. But how come we can retrieve their bodies via reverse summoning but not the wreckage? Ophis wondered. She built a special sect in her shinobi army specialized in fuinjutsu or sealing arts. Under her guidance, the sect was known for producing many seals that have been proven to be effective in combat, even reverse engineered the reverse summoning technique for retrieval of her fallen shinobi, loss of equipment, and wreckage recovery purpose. But they can't reverse summon the equipment and the wreckage of Icarus II and the equipment in it. The conclusion was either they're completely destroyed or the seals are defective. But Ophis dismissed the first conclusion since someone managed to found an access to use their weapons. Hearing the lieutenant report, the colonel turned his gaze at his leader. What would you like us to do? Colonel, I want you to prepare 3 squads of your best men, gather them at my sanctum for briefing. I want them to investigate and find who's brave enough to use our weapons and equipment and bring them to me for questioning. You lieutenant, tell the CIC crew to get ready. We will deploy our nins to Land of Fire. Be sure to give us update on the field. Any question? The colonel stepped forward. What happened if they resist to cooperate, and what should we do should our shinobi encounter? The autarch formed a small smile on her face, but big enough for them to see it. Act accordingly, she said. Now go. Double time. With that being said, both the colonel and the lieutenant curled their right hand into fist before positioning it to their left chest and bow, followed by body flicker out of her sanctum. They have a mission to commence. Why New Helgen why? After 10 minutes, the autarch's sanctum now filled with 18 Helgast shinobi lining up in front of their autarch's desk. Turning to her right, she asked the colonel, "Is this the best men at your disposal?" "Yes, my autarch. Varkolik squad, Malo squad, and Cobra squad. These 3 6-man squad are the best shinobi squad I can provide for you. For a record, they have the best record in training in real-life simulation battle," the colonel said with pride. Unlike Elemental Nation's shinobi squad system, New Helgen Empire shinobi squad is composed of 6-man, consists of 1 jonin, 2 chunins, and 3 genins. The jonin as usual act as their leader. The chunins will act as the second in command, medic of the squad and also radio man of the squad, while the genins are practically grunts. All right. Ophis raised from her chair and stared at her shinobis. Listen up. Years ago I prohibited any Helgast shinobi from entering Elemental Nation unless you have my permission to enter now. At 0740 hours, our CIC has picked up a distress signal coming from the Land of Fire. There's a possibility of deserters from New Helgen, but the proof were inconclusive as I sensed all of my shinobi are still inside our beloved empire. Ophis paused before continuing. And after further inspection, we concluded the distress signal coming from distress signal sender placed inside the Lost Icarus II from Icarus flight. Now you have been chosen to investigate and bring whoever they are to me for questioning. Any question? The squad leader of Varkolak raises his hand. He's wearing a standard commando ACU covered with armor from head to toe. A blade on his right side, round helmet with 6 red eyes, 3 on each side arranged in triangular position. AN. Helgast commando outfit in KZ. Shadow Fall. Are there any opposing forces that we should be aware of, my autarch? At that question, Ophis grew more serious. Yes, as 0745 today our satellite with chakra imaging system caught this image. Ophis gestured at her colonel, to which he pulled out his tablet and tapped it several times before projecting the Land of Fire map, revealing multiple blips on the map. There's 2 groups from Leaf converging on your objective. One group consists of 12 shinobi with high-level chakra and the other group consists of 15 shinobi with same level of chakra following the first group. So, you have 27 hostile forces trying to capture our objective, so I suggest you prepare your blades and jutsus ready. When you secured the perpetrator you will be reverse summoned to New Helgen. Anymore question? Then a female Helgast raised her hand. She's wearing standard Helgast kunoichi armor, which is a bodysuit that cover her from her neck to her toe, black helmet with respirator and 2 red eyes, combat boots with claw-like blade in front of it. AN. MGS4's Haven Trooper combat uniform. Yes, Cobra 1? When do we start, my autarch? The kunoichi asked, even with muffled voice. Everyone in the room can hear her eager voice. Did all of you bring all of your weapons? Ophis gazed at every squad members. Yes, my autarch. They replied in unison. Ophis then held her hand forward and the New Helgen symbol on the floor started to glow bright red below them. The operation is to be carried out immediately, she declared. All of you, I will teleport you to Land of Fire. Find them and bring them back to New Helgen. Yes, my autarch. Giving a bow to her, the Helgast shinobis disappear from her sight, teleported to the Land of Fire doing their job. I'll be heading to the CIC room coordinating our shinobis. Would you like to come with me, my autarch? The colonel asked politely. Go on ahead, Colonel Fitzgerald. I still have few paperwork need to be signed. I'll go when I'm finished. Understood, my autarch. We'll be waiting for your presence. And with that the colonel body flicker out of the sanctum to the CIC room. Ophis let out a sigh and moved her gaze at her desk to see just a few sheets of her paperwork, which seems the only paperwork for today. And my autarch, I have 40 documents that need to be signed. Should I give it to you now? No. God damn it. I know I shouldn't jinxed it. Ophis weighed in despair. She pushed her intercom. I will sign it later. I have operation that need to be observed. Understood, I'll put it on your desk later. The intercom dies down, but Ophis could hear her secretary stifle a laugh before completely dies down. Ophis rubbed her head in exasperation. How come there's endless of those things? No matter what realms, worlds she visited, that abomination will always come to haunt her even in her dream. Sigh. I need my Mountain Dew, NYH, somewhere in Land of Fire. Cursed it. How come they can get to us so quickly? Naruto said as he hopped to another branch. They're Anbu, Naruto-kun. They were trained for this kind of operation. Yakumo shouted back. Damn it. The three Konoha children now running from the following Anbu. They were quickly discovered since the one who were chasing them were shinobis specially trained for this kind of operation. I don't want to this yet, but I've got no choice. Pulling out several shuriken he found on the crate from his pouch, Naruto leaped before turning around 180 degree, and with a quick throw the shurikens flew toward their target. He didn't expect it to stop them, he only expected to stall them long enough, giving them some distance. Guh. What the gaw? Hot, what the hell is this? But what happened was the shurikens hit their target embed deep on the Anbu. Three of the Konoha Anbu got stabbed by the shurikens courtesy through by the blonde boy. The three children stopped themselves and looked behind them to see three Anbu fall to the ground. What the hell? That's not my best throw. How come they got hit? And how come they screaming hot when I didn't channel fire chakra? He wondered out loud as he watched the Anbu writhing on the ground with some of their comrade come to his aid. Yakumo, who also surprised, trying to figure what just transpired. Hinata, could you activate your Byakugan and scan what happened to them? Why yes, Byakugan. Veins bulged around her eyes. How is that be possible? What is it, Hinata? The shurikens heated up. I can see the shuriken glows and smoking. The other two children were speechless. Wait, how come a shuriken did that? I mean, I throw many shuriken before, but none of them were capable to heat up like that, Naruto said in disbelief. Talk later, we need to move now. Yakumo shouted, bringing both Naruto and Hinata back from the land of wonder and start moving again. Naruto, Yakumo, and Hinata keep leaping from tree to tree. Closely following them were the Anbu squad, again quickly gaining on them. Naruto pulled out another set of shurikens. Naruto repeat his last action. This time he put more strength in it. The shurikens fly at amazing speed at their target. It hit their target faster than their normal counterpart and burned deep into their target.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.